The base has dropped on another edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Tuesday. It's a top-tier Tuesday. And we're going to be getting into favorite team logos worldwide. John, do you have a legal pad ready?
I have a legal pad ready.
Okay.
I'm writing mine down.
Okay, well, you have to write everybody's down. And you have to track them so then we can decide by the end of the show what is in the top tier of favorite team logos, crests worldwide. Now, everybody out there listening, you get to submit two picks, your favorite. So a lot of times that might be your favorite team and then another one that you admire. Those of us who are talking on microphones, we get 5.
Ha ha.
That's not nice, John. You shouldn't laugh and be that way about it. That's kind of
that's what led to the French Revolution, John.
I
ended
had
up on the wrong end of a guillotine.
I like how I have not introduced our special co-host again today, and he just chimes on in anyway. Jarrett Smith is with us.
Well, blame John for laughing at people's misfortune.
See, Jarrett is like Crow Sting at the end of Nitro. He just parachutes in.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the producer knows that he's going to parachute in, so he's prepared for that shot. We don't have video on Jarrett. We just assume that he's there, and I'd like to at least bring his title card up. Yeah, just saying.
What's going to happen one day is we're gonna recreate Sting Army, and the Skype call that we use to organize all this is going to have like 25 people jump on the Skype call, and Jason's going to have to sift through all of it to find the actual Jarrett.
Yeah, that's the day when the show ends, and that's the day that I
Buff
check in.
Bagwell has to get a Scorpion Death Drop.
No, that's the day that Buff Bagwell has nothing to do with soccer down here. That's a definite. All right, suggestions so far on the Twitch pitch to add to your legal pad, John. Sean Vergara adds West Brom into the mix.
Okay.
Ricky Ricardo is choosing violence this morning. He picks Juventus' new logo. He says it's great.
I feel targeted, but I appreciate his pettiness.
I like it. I like it. Ron Digital's checking in from Cincinnati this morning. What's up, Ron? This is club crests, club logos, not national team logos, not national team crests. It is club crests. Yes, Katie Weaver, I would like to see Jarrett just show up behind John at Office HD one day unannounced. That would be amazing.
That would be.
All right. Sean is crossing off West Brom. He says that was a joke. He forgot the joke font in the Twitch pitch. Tottenham has the best logo, and he's also very biased.
Okay, so I imagine the Katie Weaver vote will be coming in short order.
It is not there yet. J-Dub goes Shakhtar, so I'm sure you're pleased with that.
Right there, baby.
Yeah. See, there you go. Stunner goes Boca Juniors.
Understood.
Alex Piscine is going Morticom. I do not remember their logo off the top of my head.
It's a shrimp.
Looney Tick is going Forward Madison and Botafogo. Riley is going with Wolves. Jahuta, yes, it absolutely counts. Minnesota. That is a good logo. We already have Arsenal and Tottenham hatred in the Twitch pitch already. Katie is yes saying Tottenham, of course. The Airborne DJ is going with Sheffield Wednesday.
And John Harks will be happy with that one. Nice. There's a nice owl in that one. Yes.
Yes. Domer has AFC Wimbledon.
Attaboy, Domer. Nicely played.
That might be John Harks calling you right now.
That's a phone call.
John Harks is calling to support the Sheffield Wednesday suggestion.
I was going to say Forward Madison's calling to support and going full Mingo.
No, nobody wants that at all. Never. J-Dub Pescara is the second choice for J-Dub. Burned goes with Rapid Vienna and Botafogo. Let's see. The Colonel, of course. No guess on that one. We know who it is. Mindy Kaling's Fighting Swans.
At some point, you want to go back over those stats that you found from yesterday?
No, because they make my eyes hurt and they give me a headache. When neither team can complete more than 50% of the passes, I don't enjoy that match, and I don't want to remember it at all. Sean Vergara asks if one of yours will be the favorite Belgian team.
Brugge!
You just like the name. I don't think you even like the logo.
That's true.
Riley Ogden? Riley, I need more. I need more. Pacine, I agree. Any crest with seahorses should be considered top tier. That's fair.
Okay.
Katie really likes the Oakland Roots.
Yes.
Ron likes the throwback Arsenal crest. Oakland Roots getting a lot of love in the Twitch pitch from Riley and from Stunner as well. And we'll get some from Twitter too. Burned, you only get 2, but Burned is also throwing in more Brazilian ones like Flamengo and Fluminense. They are not on the board. Burned went with his 2. But a lot of Brazilian love on the team logos.
Yeah, we're getting some from Twitter as well.
Oh, wait a minute. We have a change. J-Dub had Pescara as his second. Cross that off.
Okay.
Portland Thorns is the second one from J-Dub.
Understood.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So if you are suggesting accurate or you're suggesting your 2 logos, let us know in the Twitch pitch. We will catch them. I think John might have the Twitch pitch up if he can find the web address. No, that's a legal pad. I'm talking about the Twitch pitch, like that website that people are watching the show on.
That is true. Domer with Catania.
Okay. Make sure these are officially suggested logos and not just that's pretty nice. I have not seen any love for the new Columbus Crew logo, and it is the Columbus Crew now.
Welcome back.
It's not Columbus SC. It's not even Columbus Crew SC. They are back to the Columbus Crew after a meeting last night. Sorted all this out, thankfully, because this was a really dumb diversion in the soccer world. Outrage from the supporters. They have dumped the rebrand. They will not be Columbus SC. They will not be Columbus Crew SC. They will be the Columbus Crew. It was announced Monday night, meeting of Crew ownership, D. Haslam, J.W. Johnson, Dr. Pete Edwards, senior execs, GM Tim Bezpachenko, Chief Business Officer Steve Lyons. All of them met with the Nordecke, the supporters group. The new crest will include Columbus Crew as well as 96, which will be placed inside the outline of the Ohio State flag in recognition of the club's status as one of the founding members in 1996. Otherwise, that new primary logo will basically be the new logo, but Columbus Crew will be involved in it and 96 will be in it. Edwards said that most MLS teams were adapting SC or FC as a finishing mark. The emphasis was on the team city. Every team that's entered the league since 2015 has had an FC or an SC or a CF, same thing, just in Spanish, before or after its name, or in French, in the case of Montreal. The last team to enter MLS with a nickname in its name without an SC, without an FC, without a CF was the Montreal Impact, and they are no longer the Montreal Impact. They are Club de Foot. Jarrett, are you surprised that things have turned so fast and we have the Artful Dodger Craig David rewind of the Columbus Crew name?
I don't know if I'm necessarily surprised. I think I'm surprised that it happened this quickly. Part of me wondered if it was going to happen, but not necessarily within a week.
Yeah.
I thought it would take a little longer than that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not surprised that they flinched. I just didn't think they'd flinch this quickly. I thought they would try and power through it, for better or worse.
I wondered if they would. This was such a weird thing because I can't remember a team like changing their logo and their branding early in a season on everything but the uniforms and just rolling with it. And then, oh, wait a minute. No, we should now not even just go back to what it was at the beginning of the season. Let's go back even further and drop the SC part of it and just be the Columbus Crew. I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
But, man, can we learn something here, folks? Teams, clubs. Chicago announced a new branding, logo, color scheme, all of it. They then announced not too long afterwards that they would be revisiting that rebrand, and they are in the process of doing so. Louisville City announced a new logo, and then they didn't even print a second run of T-shirts on it. They sold off the T-shirts with the new logo, went back to the old logo, and now they have rebranded again. And this one's actually going to stick, it appears. We have had, I guess, a successful rebrand with Gotham FC from Sky Blue. That one has not wobbled. And now we have the Columbus big-time wobbling and then reverting all the way back to the original. That's not a good track record on rebrands.
No, it's not. No.
I mean, we can even include, and I don't know how official the rebrand of Leeds United and their very manly...
the Strongman logo?
Yes, their very manly Strongman logo that popped up for a minute and everybody was outraged and it disappeared, never to be seen again. You know, it need to be a little careful with these things, folks. And, you know, it's hard when you're a newer team, and 96 is still a newer team, and especially with logos that are very 90s. And we've talked about it with New England. I think New England's logo has went like very 90s to very outdated looking to now almost kind of sort of classic looking.
Yeah,
because it's got that history behind it, and the longer of a history you have with a brand, with a logo, especially with a crest, the harder it is to change it effectively. I think Juventus has went through that. They've just powered through. They don't care. No shock. They tried to start a Super League breakaway thing, and they haven't given up on that either, so they're not going to give up on a new logo anytime soon. People start yelling about it. They might get kicked out of Champions League, and they might not even qualify anyway, but that's a whole other conversation. Juventus is just going to put their head down and run through it. It's tough to change these logos that have created a connection with a club. And Jared, I mean, I think the best logos, you know, it's the logo. It's colors, it's shapes, it's, you know, maybe mascots involved, animals, what have you, but it creates an emotional connection for people because that logo ends up creating meaning over time, and it's hard to get away from it.
And especially in Europe, where you think about it in the same sense we think about college football, where it's not just establishing a relationship with one generation, it's establishing 2, 3, sometimes 4 generations worth of people, where you've got, you know, your grandfather has cheered for that, and it's been the same crest for the same badge for years. And that's something that's, I wonder sometimes if they take it too lightly when they make changes to stuff. Like this is, you're talking about like, you know, generational impact on people. And yeah, that's why they take it personally, is they've emotionally invested, you know, a couple generations down the line sometimes. It's a big deal to people, and it's I don't know. Sometimes I think it just doesn't get its full consideration when changes are made.
Yeah, it's something that, you know, you just come to feel comfortable with. You know, I mean, I think this is what good logos do in general. You get a feeling when you see it, and you know. It's hard to have a good feeling about something, which if you've been around for a long period of time, just surviving will create good feelings about these things. And then change it and make it work. It's really difficult to completely go away from a historic brand. And MLS is getting into that conversation about historic brands. Can you refresh? Sure. Can you create alternative marks? Yeah, absolutely. But it can be really difficult, and I think the league is starting to understand some of the outrage about the small amount of history that it has, but it's a meaningful history to a lot of people. Chicago and Columbus, I think, are prime examples of that, John.
Yeah, you mentioned history and meaningful. And even, you know, when you're looking at sample size of 25 or 26 years, there's still that generational attachment to what you've seen since the beginning. And if you've been with something since its beginning, change is going to be a difficult thing to want to embrace. And you're used to that familiarity. You're used to seeing that logo there. You're used to all of the events that are tied to it, as Jarrett was saying, all of those moments that you were a part of or attached to. And then there's that feeling of it being taken away if you end up rebranding and it ends up being something that you were completely turned off by. And that's the risk that you run when you're trying to market in today's landscape, because it is about look, it is about marketing, it is about opportunity, but you're trying to balance history and all of this at the same time. And it's a very delicate balance, especially when there's history attached. If you're building a history, then you have that opportunity to sit there and add things to what you've built. But if there's a history and then you try to change it, then you run the risk of what we've seen in a couple of markets. And this morning, Kevin from Charlotte right in on this conversation, saying that the new Crew C logo and the new Chicago Fire have to be the best, right? Sarcasm font available.
Yeah, absolutely. Marca did a poll early last year, pre-pandemic, that attracted 14 million votes. The most beautiful crest in world football. Their top 25, I'll kind of go quickly through the bottom end of it. Arsenal was 25, Chelsea was 24, Benfica was 23, Milan was 22, Atleti was 21, Inter was 20. And Inter's now changing their logo, which is awesome. I have not seen this logo before, and it is very nice. Estrella Roja, which is a Venezuelan club founded in 2004. Very simple, red and black, a star in the middle of it, a kind of shield design. That's pretty cool. I'd never seen that one before. I like it. Roma, 18. Okay. Valencia, 17. Ajax, 16. Celtic, 15. Jarrett, how you feeling?
There you go.
It's not my favorite one in Scotland. I'll tell you that.
Oh, look at Jarrett
There's
using
a
violence
tease
this morning.
for you.
Yeah, I like it. Galatasaray, 14. Wydad Casablanca, 13. Moroccan, pretty close to getting into the top 10. Okay, that's a pretty cool looking logo. This is where we start getting crazy. Number 12, Yokohama Marinos.
Okay.
Manchester United, 11. Besiktas, 10. It's a pretty cool logo. CSKA Moscow, 9. Very Russian logo. Very, very Russian, with a giant old-school soccer ball in the middle of it. Colo-Colo, number 8. That's a classic.
Yeah.
Barcelona, number 7. Liverpool, 6. Fenerbahce, 5. Would not have guessed that one. Real Madrid, 4. It is Marca. They're based in Madrid. That's not a huge shock.
Yeah.
Fluminense, 3. Al Ahly, 2. It's a cool logo. It's a very cool logo. And Raja Casablanca, 1. Wow, this is a wild bowl. Okay. Marca's 25 most beautiful crests in the world. They went off the board a few times.
I was going to say I would not have anticipated Raja Casablanca as a part of that mix.
Yeah, they did not get into the American team crests, and I feel slighted by this. There are quite a few good recent ones. Inter Miami's logo is great. I like the herons. I like when they separate that out as like an alternative logo they've used on hats. It's a very cool look. I like that. Miami did a good job with theirs. Forward Madison's logo is great. Tormenta, I thought, killed it with theirs. I really like that one. I love Union Omaha's logo in League One. Of Atlanta United's is classic, and when you scroll through those Marca top 25, like for a new logo, it looks old and classic. And I know that was the idea behind it. They wanted it when you would see, on TV, like news about different teams, and they have the little logo in the bottom of bouncing around from maybe Juventus pre-Flying J logo, Milan, Manchester United, Liverpool, all the classic world logos, and then Atlanta United pops up, and it doesn't look out of place. That was definitely by design. What other ones in the United States stand out to you guys?
I can give you one of mine that's on my list of 5.
Oh, okay. Do it.
The old California Surf logo.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You're going way off the board, Jared Smith.
Yes.
Way off the board.
That's a great one.
It is a good logo. It's one of the best of the old NASL.
I was about to say we're getting into some dark days of NASL logos. But
yeah, there's that.
I really liked it.
J-Dub, Austin FC. I like trees.
I mean, to that point, though, and somebody mentioned Oakland Roots earlier. I love the Oakland Roots, where the top of it is the tree and the bottom almost looks like stained glass.
Yep,
it's a good look.
I think I'm one of the few who doesn't hate Nashville's logo. I kind of like what they went with there. It works. It is different, Riley. It is that's the hard thing I think for new teams, and if you're doing a new logo, is there's certain expectations for a club crest. And how far outside the box can you go? I think we're finding not that far with some of the reactions to things. It's tough. It's tough because you have to walk that balance, and a lot of it depends on what you're, beyond the colors and beyond the logo, what your brand is all about. Atlanta United, like I said, from the beginning, they wanted to be classic. They wanted to have a classic look. Okay, that's very different than somebody like a Tormenta or a Forward Madison who is trying to push the envelope. It's a tough one because you have to know what your club is going to be all about, Jarrett. Like, do you want to be a team like Forward Madison, for example, that's going to put out like all kinds of crazy merch all the different at different times? They're going to put out as many different things as possible and be very, tongue-in-cheek with the way they present themselves? Or are you going to be Atlanta United, which is trying to be a big kind of world club that fits into the world conversation? You have to know who you're going to be and create the logo around that to match it, because if they're not in alignment, it looks weird. It feels weird.
I don't disagree. And I like what Forward Madison does, because Forward Madison knows their lane. And they know what lane they want to be in. They've leaned all the way into it, and it's done so well. Not just in terms of the merchandising, but the way that they carry themselves with it is so impressive to me. That they were just like, "Hey, this is what we want to be. This is what we're going to be." From social media on up, everything about it fits into that. I tell you, it's a sneaky good logo, even though like we're going to slander them when U.S. Open Cup comes, because we slander them every year. I don't hate the Villages logo.
No, it's not a bad logo at all.
And who was it? Tafka on Twitter actually mentioned the Villages this morning.
It's not a bad logo at all. They just need to make sure they're using players who are legal for the competition.
From Avatar.
Yeah, and the Villages actually responded back to Tafka.
Well, there you go.
So the Villages are paying attention this morning.
Very nice. Byrne says the New York Cosmos is unique. It's not pretty, but it stands out. It's iconic. And that's...
Yeah, that old Cosmos logo was legit, too.
Yeah, I mean,
they've done a good job.
But that's the thing, too, and I think, what Atlanta United has accomplished so far plays into how you feel about their logo. A logo can take on increased importance over time with history that people love. Nick just wants to make sure we don't get Fazoli's FC.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
We're going to get a Fazoli sponsorship, Nick, and we're going to get you all the gift cards. We're going to get it shipped to your house.
Awesome.
It'll be amazing. No, like when you have that history attached to it, like the Cosmos, when they did make their comeback first as an apparel brand, basically, and then as a real team, they couldn't go with a different logo.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they couldn't go. That was what gave them some clout, was that logo. They couldn't ever change that. There's others who couldn't change that. It's just you get to a point. I mean, Juventus has said again, they don't care, but this is also a club that tried to start a breakaway league, so of course they don't care. Inter's going to be an interesting one on does this continue. It's not a gigantic, oh my God, this is the craziest thing ever change. It's not as abrupt as Columbus's change, for example, but it is different, and I wonder if there will be big pushback on it. Nick, you are our Italian representative. Are you hearing pushback on Inter's change? And please put your AC Milan hat down when you answer the question so we don't get any bias into this. Are you hearing about Inter fans rioting over their logo change? That's what I would like to know. Thomas Dwin, top 5 in MLS, not ranked. Atlanta, LAFC, Minnesota, Philadelphia Union, Miami. Next, Portland, Austin, Colorado, DC. That's his next tier. I don't hate the top tier for you, Thomas, in MLS. I don't hate that.
I mean, Timbers, and looking at the second tier, Timbers is classic.
I liked the older Timbers logo better. I wish they had brought that into MLS with them.
Yep.
I get why you do it differently. I mean, I understand their reasoning. The new one is fine. I like the old one better.
And a lot of folks have been mentioning LAFC as one of their favorite MLS logos because of the classic look that they have coming out of the blocks.
Yep, it's a very good one because it is classic, but it's not bland. They did a really good job with it. I think New York City's is very good. New York City's is very cool, and doesn't it tie into the history of the subway tokens in New York?
Yeah.
Very cool.
It does.
I'm good with that. I like Houston's rebrand. I know not a lot of people do. I think over time it's going to stick and be a good one. I've said it consistently, and I'll continue to. I think the LA Galaxy are the one most prime for a new logo in MLS. I think that logo looks very outdated at this point.
And also on Twitter this morning,
if you wait long enough, it comes all the way back around to being classic.
True. Yes.
I don't know if there's will. I mean, it has to have some quality to get there. It has to have something about it to get there. I just don't know if that LA Galaxy one gets there. I really don't. I think New England's has. And maybe it's just because they didn't care and they were going to stick with it no matter what.
Yeah, they didn't invest in a change, so they just kept it, and then it has circled back.
Yeah, maybe. Nick says the new Inter logo is being trashed by a majority of Inter fans and Serie A followers. Okay, there we go. That's what I was wondering. Pescara is starting to generate a bandwagon on the Twitch pitch, by the way, for their logo.
Well, and the Fear the Fur has been recognized as well by the franchise.
Love it.
On the Twitter timeline.
Love it.
Ali Cupertino came in, mentioned the Tri-Cities Otters, and the Tri-Cities Otters have responded to Ali Cupertino, seconding her notion with, I believe it's DJ Khaled as a GIF.
Wow, I'm impressed you've got that, John.
You smart from DJ Khaled. So yeah, the Otters are chimed in this morning as well. So we have two clubs who are chimed in and locked into selections this morning in the show in the first half hour.
Sean wants to do a Soccer Down Here show live from Fazoli's. I don't know if Nick would agree with that. that might be a problem. Tulsa's logo is awesome. Totally agree, Alex and Nick, on that one. It's very cool. Like, I was a little, when the announcement came, they were going to rebrand from the Roughnecks, which has a bunch of history. You know, that Tulsa Roughnecks name had a bunch of history back in the day. They were one of the latter NASL, the original NASL 1.0, latter franchises that actually, I think, stuck a little bit. Coming in towards the end of the league, they were a success story in the league, and they didn't have any real soccer history coming in. Did amazing work. I liked that when the USL team went to the Roughnecks brand. Cool, okay, you're playing off of that history. I didn't like the idea of changing it when they did, but I like what they did with it, and I think they did upgrade it. FC Tulsa and the Art Deco style, it's a very cool look, and I know there's some history with the Art Deco the branding in Tulsa, and it fits. It's not just pulled out of thin air. So very, very cool. They did a good job.
Strummer John wants to know about our thoughts on Appalachian FC.
It's cool, and they do a good line, I think, or walk a good line in, like, the logo just from a glance looks like a classic soccer logo. But then it's got Sasquatch in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, they find the balance of both. Like, they have Sasquatch in the logo, but it doesn't look like some crazy... It's not a cartoonish Sasquatch head with the Appalachian FC like around it or something.
Yeah,
like it works.
Thing.
It totally works.
Mm-hmm.
Johannes is very anti-New England. He says that logo is ridiculous. I'm disappointed in you, Johannes. It is kind of ridiculous, but it's been ridiculous for a long time, so I'm good with it being ridiculous at this point.
If it's ridiculous for long enough, it comes all the way back around for a lot of people. You
can.
just have to weather the storm.
It can. They've weathered that storm. I would like to see them freshen up the brand for sure. I think it's time to do some different things with it, like word marks, maybe a secondary, logo, things like that. I'd like to see them do it. I don't think they can completely get away from the crayon flag is how I've seen it described. I don't think they can completely get away from that. It's too iconic now at this point, for better or worse.
Yeah. Wildchar, let's see. Christos' logo. I'm looking at their golden lion. And actually, I like their golden lion. Because I guess the history is attached to it, too.
Ricky wants it to be the Boston Revolution, not the New England Revolution. If they get into Boston, if they get a Boston Stadium, I am all for it.
Yes.
And they've, I don't think it's been, a lie. I think they have looked at stadiums in Boston. I think they've tried. I think they are still trying. I'd love to see it.
South of downtown, yeah.
I think they've
Boston's
looked all
a weird
over.
Place to do anything.
Yeah,
go back and look about 5 years ago when Boston was like putting together that really pathetic bid for the Olympics. That like you looked at and you're like, this isn't going to work, and like 5 months later, this isn't going to work. Go back and look at like the plan they had for hosting the Olympics in Boston, and all of the maneuvering that would have had to happen. It was like watching somebody like literally play Tetris in real time to make it happen. It's just there's not a lot of room.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You might have to try to partner with, and I don't know all the particulars of like a Boston College, a Harvard, something like that to make it work. I'm not sure, Riley, on the Boston College thing, although I do like your idea of crossing muskets being involved in some kind of logo or refresh for the Revolution. That'd be kind of cool. You could make that work.
Pacine says, I'm going to be brave here. I think Orlando has a nice logo.
Oh, boy.
And then Nix comes back, shut your mouth.
It's not bad. It's not a bad logo at all. I wanted to compare their USL logo versus the MLS logo because it did change. They got better. The USL one was a little too busy, and they had a weird, like, reddish color. I don't know if it's exactly red on that Orlando City USL logo. And the Lions were very cartoonish. I like what they upgraded to. They definitely upgraded. That was an upgrade. It's good. It's a good logo. It's simple. It's good. I'll give them their props. You can yell at me, Jason Nix. That's fine. Purple is not garbage, Ricky. I disagree, Ricky Ricardo. I am thoroughly disgusted by this. I like purple. I just don't like it when it's involving Orlando City.
Yeah, and there are good shades of purple, like royal. I mean, I think that royal is a
royal
really
purple.
good...
Or are you talking royal blue? What are you doing?
No, it's not as quite an electric a purple, and it's twisted a little bit, and it's not as electric, and it's a little toned down, and that's royal purple.
Jared, have you ever heard of royal purple? Am I missing something here?
Well, I mean, purple was was a color of royalty for, I believe, the Egyptians.
Yeah, no. Purple as a color of royalty, yes. I've just never heard a
the French
royal
used
purple
it that
shade.
way as well. I mean, I think it's just almost like a.
Okay,
think
it's
of like
color.
a Crown
Thomas
Royal bag.
Okay, I like purple as a color. I like purple. If I'm wearing a dark gray suit, I like a purple shirt with it. I just can't wear that with anything that I'm wearing a suit for around Atlanta United because I'm not wearing purple. Not happening. I can't do it. But I like purple as a color. So Ricky Ricardo, he didn't like the Atlanta Legends because they used purple.
Royal Purple is...
There's a whole oil called Royal Purple. Okay.
Yeah, Pro Silk and Fabric Paint 804. PSFP 804 is Royal
Never
Purple.
heard Royal Purple, huh? I've always heard Royal Blue. Okay. I've never heard really many shades of purple anyway outside of like lavender and stuff. I'm not up on my color names, so that's my bad.
Well, and I always remember that when the USA Today, they would always, as a part of their ad campaign, the sports section, it would always be reach for the red. The money section, reach for the green. The news section, reach for the blue.
When was this ad campaign, by the way?
Before you were born.
Like 1983.
And then the life section, the entertainment section, was reach for the royal. And so that was where that came from. That was the first reference that I knew.
Never heard that. I also don't remember USA Today ad campaigns. Is USA Today still printing, by the way?
I'm not aware. And then print, excellent. Thank you, Nick Levy. With Prince wearing
how
purple.
long until Minnesota makes a purple like a purple rain kit?
Oh.
They should have, once they heard about Seattle doing it, they should have immediately had it in the works. I mean, PSG has done something with Prince before Minnesota has.
I mean, you do raspberry. I don't know. Do whatever.
I do purple. PSG did something with Prince's estate. PSG. Minnesota's right there. Very disappointed in the Loons.
Oh, don't let Inchie hear that.
I'm disappointed in you, Adrian Heath. You should have listened.
He'll go on microphone and he'll sit there and he'll rail for 45 seconds.
He should have listened to Purple Rain nonstop before games. Come on now. Do a deal with the Prince estate and have something involving Prince in your third kit or your second kit or whatever, and you'll sell a bunch of them.
God, Jarrett, I love the idea of the raspberry kit for Minnesota United.
Yeah, you do that after the purple one for sure. Like if you want, like let's say you do,
you can play off of that.
Let's say you do a Purple Rain and you get it done, and let's say a couple of years later, like, well, let's just go through the catalog and let's do raspberry.
That could work. Very important topic that Tommy has brought to the table on Twitch Pitch. Tommy does not like gray as a soccer jersey color. This is a controversial one because they've tried it many different times in different places, and I remember Manchester United doing their gray kits in the mid-'90s, and they ended up one day changing at halftime because they said something like they couldn't see one another, some ridiculous thing. They had a horrible record in the gray kits. I was very angry about Minnesota's in previous years because I felt like they could never get the socks to actually match the kit. The socks were fading early on in the season, and they never stayed the darker gray. I think it's a little bit better this year, but it's still early. Those socks keep getting washed and might have some problems unless they're going to keep breaking out new socks every game. Minnesota makes it work. And there was a second division Argentine team that I saw recently when we were doing soccer over there. I think it was Gimnasia Mendoza, who had a dark gray and like a hot pink trim on it. And that actually worked really, really well. I think it's harder, and we've talked about this with a gold kit, talking about Atlanta United. I think it's harder to make a gray or a gold kit work, but I think it can work if it's done right.
Aunt Martha, in our discussion about Minnesota United, is looking for a When Doves Cry white jersey. And Nick's wanted the idea of possibly ghosted doves flying down and around. And Ricky Ricardo likes the idea of sublimating the doves in the jersey.
Minnesota, we have given you 3 different alternative kits to use in future years. You are set for a decade. You're welcome.
That doesn't even get into the fact that, they could do like a champagne kit and do a champagne supernova and just lean all the way into Oasis if they want to go down that route, if Atlanta hasn't already just put the flag in champagne supernova at the U.S. Open Cup final.
The flag's been put in that. They can't do that. Come on now.
Oh, man, that was just...
Come on now.
That might be that might be my second favorite moment of this club's history behind the actual winning of a title.
We were not
winning U.S. Open Cup, but playing Champagne Supernova as Minnesota walked off the field.
We were not on the air. We were doing a post-game show on 92.9 because we didn't get to call that game. But when that played over the loudspeakers, I think we were waiting to come back. I was screaming in the booth.
I remember
when that song hit, because when it hit like a couple notes in, I'm like, I want to go hug whoever made the decision to play this, because this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I was dying. Yes, Tommy. So much Oasis talk the past 12 hours.
Minnesota's social media team is sitting on like 10. They're sitting on like 10 drafts of petty anti-Atlanta.
10
tweets.
10. Come on now. They've got 100. It's so angry. And yes, Tommy, we've talked a lot about Oasis in the past 12 hours. I blame Pep Guardiola and I blame Jarrett Smith. Shiva does not like...
Okay.
It's okay. Shiva does not like the LAFC away kit. What is it, Sand? Is that what they called it?
Yeah.
Now we've gone from like logos to kits. It's a good idea. I don't think it really came off as well as they would have hoped. It's all right. It's all right. About gray kits. Yes, I did see the talk about the concrete and strawberry Atlanta United first secondary kit, which is incredibly underrated.
Yes.
I really do like that one. I need to pick one of those up. I've never. That's one that I don't have. I've got... think outside of like parlays and like the training tops and stuff, I've got everything else. I don't have the concrete and strawberry. I need to get one of those.
Sam Williamson says the Seattle Jimi Hendrix kit is the best.
It's pretty sweet. It was a cool look, and I want to see what other teams do now with creative second and hopefully third kits down the line for more teams as sales go up, and Adidas says, yes, it is worth printing these because they will sell. Interesting. Burns says nobody should wear all white kits other than Real Madrid and Leeds. They have to. I mean, it's just classic. I think there's a few other teams in the world that can do it. Santos is another one that can go all white, and it's kind of a classic look for them. I don't hate it on principle, Burned, but I do like more breaking up of a monochromatic look in general. I like, if you're going to go white top, go black shorts or go red shorts or go with a color short to match what you have. Mix up the shirt and the shorts color and the socks color a little bit more. I don't like all one color all the time. I'd love to see more of a breakup. Or you've got to do a lot with the trim. Like I'm saying, I don't generally like all one color. The Atlanta United all black kit that has a lot of red in it, it's enough red in it to work for me. I was skeptical when I heard what it was going to look like. I liked it better when I saw it because the red is very prominent. If it was just black on black on black, it can still be okay. But I like a little more of at least a secondary color working in there. I like breaking up the shirt and the short color. Personally.
Yeah, the Columbus this weekend, Columbus against New England wore a white jersey with their yellow.
But it's kind of gray,
shorts.
though. It's not even exactly just plain white. It's kind of white and grayish. It's weird. I don't like it.
And then they came up with the yellow shorts
That's fine.
And the yellow socks, I think.
That's okay. I don't like the jersey for that secondary Columbus kit. The yellow shorts and socks I'm fine with.
Yeah, that was an odd look from a distance watching the match.
Yeah, I'm okay with that part, but the shirt I don't like. All right, yeah. Jared, I know you're not with us all day, so we've got to get your 5 logos. We went into to jerseys and shorts and socks and kits.
We went off the reservation.
All off the reservation. Your 5 favorite logos in world soccer.
In no particular order. I already gave you the old California Surf, digging back to the NASL days.
Mm-hmm.
I love Valencia's. I also love Bats. So there's that. I told you Celtic's not my favorite one in Scotland. It's probably not even a top 3 for me. I love Falkirk's. It's just a ball. Yeah, Falkirk is, I believe they're League 2 right now. They were in the SPFL about a decade ago. It's a soccer ball. In the town square of Falkirk, there's a large tower, and the silhouette of the tower is on the crest, sitting in front of the ball. It's simple, but I like it. And then, so that's 1, 2, 3. The fourth for me would be Corinthians. I really like Corinthians logo down in Brazil. And fifth for me is Palermo.
Okay. Can't really argue with any of that. This is all like personal taste. I mean, what is it about those? Like, I mean, I don't know if there's a common thread. Like, what is it that you like about a logo?
It's weird. A lot of times, I like a logo to be busy, but in the right way. I don't want to, it's that fine line of being too busy, but having some stuff going on. Like Corinthians has a lot going on, but I think it all works together. Palermo's, for me, it's just a unique color combination, but I think they make it work really well. In a similar vein, I really like Minnesota's. Minnesota's might be my favorite in MLS. There is no ornithological lean here one way or another that's making me pick bird logos. I just think Palermo and Minnesota have done a really good job with theirs. And to the point about using gray, like Minnesota, I think has nailed it. And it's a really tricky thing, but I think they've done a good job with it. It's the same thing with Valencia. It's an interesting palette, and then you just have a bat hanging over it. It's just different, but I do like it a lot. And the California Surf one is just it just screams old NASL. Like the colors are like a pastel. The way the surf bends into the sea, like I believe the surf, the more recent logo, it's fine. It's not as great as the old one from the 70s.
Mm-mm.
Okay. John, what about yours?
Well, of course, agreeing with the Colonel about Swansea and the other vote, I think it was Domer who mentioned AFC Wimbledon earlier.
Yeah.
I'd go with Scunthorpe United.
Okay.
Then Aberdeen, and that is a recent attachment, granted. And then Caen out of French football.
Okay, what about Caen? What is it about that?
Let me see if I can describe it. I mean, it's a really cool, and this is me just trying to describe it. They're at the bottom of League 2 right now. It is an aerodynamic looking Viking dude.
An aerodynamic looking Viking dude? Yeah. I like that. Okay.
Stadmiller Bacon. And yeah, I mean, it's just very, very slick for me. The red and blue stripes behind the Viking face with the guy who's supposed to, I guess, have a full beard, but it's blue beard. So for me, it's a very, very slick look for a team that's not very successful. So mine, Wimbledon, Scunthorpe, Swansea, Aberdeen, and Caen out of French football.
So 4 from Great Britain.
Well, I was torn. I had Vasco da Gama on my list, and I also had FC Santa Claus on my list.
Neither one of those are from Great Britain, so
no,
we're not surprised.
Yeah, so I had 7, and I was trying to get into a 5 space, and since 2 had previously been mentioned, I wanted to agree with those. Aberdeen, because of what we've been following recently and getting into the history of that, and with the Alex Ferguson documentary coming out. Scunthorpe, because I'm a member of the Iron Trust, and then Caen was like, damn, that's pretty slick.
Okay. Mine kind of off the top of my head. I didn't prepare a list here. Tri-Cities Otters.
Yeah.
Because I've always loved that logo, and the whole Fear the Fur thing's cool, but it's a good logo. in the lower divisions. Tri-Cities Otters absolutely get it for me. Leones Negros in Guadalajara.
Understood.
And it's both. It's the logo again, which I love, but also like their kits are unique and their branding is really cool with all the colors they involve in it, with red and yellow and black. Pretty sweet. I will go even further off the board with the Orlando Pirates in South Africa. Very simple black and white skull and crossbones. It's a sweet look. It is a very, very cool look. I won't go modern right now. I won't go Atlanta United. If I'm going to pick an Atlanta soccer logo that is my favorite, that I think gets not enough love, it is the 1 year of the Atlanta Apollos.
There you go.
It's a really cool 70s style brand logo. It's that weird kind of A that fit into the Omni's branding because they were owned by the Omni Group. It kind of fit into what the Hawks were doing at that time, a little bit of what the Flames were doing at that time with the styling of the A. So the Apollos one is super cool if I'm going to go old school.
Yep.
I got one more. I don't know what my other one is now that I think about it off the top of my head. I might have to think on this. You know, I really like, and it's another kind of somewhat unique color combination, which helps me. I think colors is what grabs me a lot of times. Like Tri-Cities, it's a cool color combination, and it works. Sometimes that works. Orlando Pirates is just simple black and white. Norwich. I like the Canaries. I like that involvement. I like it. It stands out. Like you see it, you see those colors, and you know exactly who it is straight away. That one always stands out to me. That's the one. Like anytime I do a list of like top 5 songs or top 5 whatevers, there's always a couple that would change given the day. You know, kind of like what you're feeling that day. That's the first one that pops into my head. So that's my 5.
Yeah. No, completely get that. I mean, and I'm glad you mentioned the Apollos, because that for me is definitely one that sticks out, at least from a locals perspective.
Yes. Share an Atlanta Apollos logo in the Twitch pitch. I don't think everybody knows that one if you can.
Yeah,
John.
I'm right on it.
Jarrett, we're going to get into some other stuff in hour number 2, and then we'll try to figure out our tiers here. We'll see what other people have suggested and keep suggesting them in the Twitch pitch. John will keep tracking it and suggest them on Twitter as well. But before you go, Jarrett, your thoughts on the news last night. I don't think it's been confirmed by the club yet, but Christian Dyer was the first one I saw with it at Fansided. Aaron Long, scheduled to have surgery, ruptured Achilles tendon, was injured on Saturday night. He will be out. If it's surgery for a ruptured Achilles tendon, that's going to put him out the rest of the season. That's going to put him out for 2021 World Cup qualifiers, Nations League semifinal this summer, all of that. It's a horrible loss for the Red Bulls. It's horrible luck for Aaron Long, who's trying to get a move to Europe that is now probably not ever going to happen for him, which is wrong. I think the Red Bulls did him wrong. But it's also horrible for the U.S. men's national team.
It is, and that's, I think, what kind of aggravates me the most is people talking about last night on social media, because people do terrible things on social media when they have anonymity and they're behind a computer screen of, oh, this will be fine for the U.S. national team. Not piss off with that crap. No, it sucks. You're losing a guy who was a part of that national team pool who, I mean, it's such a weird situation, and I think it might be one of those things that kind of gets people to pushing harder to say, hey, I want to make my move to Europe. You're going to sell me, and you're going to sell me when I want you to, because I just saw what happened to Aaron Long, and now he might not get his move out at all. So I wonder if players, who are kind of who aren't the Miguel Almirones of the world, who were going to go and, pull $20+ million, but guys who wanted to make a smaller, a couple $1 million move over to Europe, I wonder if they start pushing a little harder after this and say, we've seen what can happen, and especially if you're not in your early 20s. I wonder if they start pushing a little harder, saying, you're going to give me this option. You're going to make this move happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Twellman and his injury history after not getting the move to Preston North End, Aaron Long, there's been others, but yeah, that's the thing that you never know. And he should have gotten his move. You know, it would have been good business for the club as well when they had the opportunities to do it. And this is the sad possibility for a player who, you know, will probably never get that opportunity now. I just hope he can come back and get back to full form, because Aaron Long's one of the best center backs in the league, one of the best center backs for the U.S. men's national team. I hope he can get back to that level, but how long is that going to take? I don't know.
And that's the thing. It's like, it goes back, for me, it always goes back to that discussion about Aaron Long wanting the move and not getting the move. And now it's going to take, he was released by the club this morning that the surgery was successful in the last 10 minutes or so. But now you're looking at rehabilitation of 5 to 7 months. Then that, you know, takes him through this season, probably to the first of the year. And then he's back for training camp next season. And then you wonder how long it takes for him to get to be where he was. And I don't think that you necessarily get back to being 100% of who you were after something like that. And it's going to be a long road back. And you look at someone who had the promise of that move to Europe and now not looking likely. And you just, it is one of those situations with Aaron Long where you wonder what could have been, disappointingly, what could have been for him now with this injury that's going to put him on the shelf for the rest of the calendar year.
Yeah, there were offers on the table. I mean, I don't think everybody reporting that got it wrong. The Liverpool one was probably a stretch, but there were championship level offers on the table, and he can absolutely play at that level. And it's a shame because, yeah, he's a late bloomer and it burned, absolutely. He wasn't going to get a huge offer. You know, that was never going to happen. But, yeah, he had some offers on the table that the club turned down, I think on 2 different occasions. And it's just a shame because this is the risk if you don't get that timing to work out. This can happen. And, you know, I hope that he can get back. I hope that he's back ahead of the 2022 World Cup. Greg Berhalter would like to have him available for that, even if he does get passed on the depth chart because other people are going to have opportunities now. You'd like to have him as part of that group. He's been a very important part. He was going to be a very important part of the qualification run. Now it's just how long can it take him to get back? I mean, that's not a short-term injury to come back from. That's typically at least a full year.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done. You know, I think back to Dominique Wilkins here in Atlanta Sports, where he had a ruptured Achilles and came back and played at a very high level afterwards. So it is possible. It's just not easy. It's going to be a long-term rehabilitation. Jarrett, anything else before you go, before you leave us?
No, I don't think so. Good. I'll be keeping an eye on everyone else's crests and logos, badges, whatever you want to call them.
And judging appropriately.
I want to see what people come up with because people have different tastes, and it's fun learning how people view things differently.
We will compare everything at the end, and we'll try to set our tiers of the top tier logos in World Soccer. But thanks, Jarrett. We'll talk to you soon.
Fun. All right. See ya.
Word.
Bye.
All right, top of the hour. John, you know what time it is. You know what that means. Tell us about our good friend, Steve Apolinski.
Apolinski & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, one place you need to go, and it is the firm of Apolinski & Associates, LLC. 3 different ways that you can do it. You can pick up the phone, get a free consultation, 404-377-9191. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com, or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small, type in aa-legal.com into the address bar, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the next page, depending on the size of the device that you are using, and you can see all of the different cases Apolinski & Associates, LLC can handle for you, all the different awards that they have won for handling cases over the last 30 years, where they have garnered over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama, 2 time zones in play, the Eastern and the Central. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. And if you still have questions after looking through the pull-down tabs and all that information, looking at all the awards, and still have thoughts that you need to express, there's a pop-up window that pops up, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Get in touch with Appolinsky & Associates, LLC. The website is aa-legal.com.
All right. We will get our judgments, our scorecards.
And that's what they are. They're judgments.
Oh, yeah. No, they are. They absolutely are. We will get that on board here in just a second. Go and throw them into the Twitch pitch. We'll get into some other news of the day as well. We've got a question from Mr. Fantastic about Alejandro Bedoya's tweet. We talked about it a little bit last night, but the championship match yesterday got some people going, so we'll talk about that for a minute. Anything else that you want to get into? River Plate is still trying to be allowed to have goalkeepers on their Copa Libertadores roster that they didn't complete. They put 32 on it. You could have put 50. Then you had over 20 players test positive for COVID. They are looking at not being able to start with 11 players tomorrow in a Copa Libertadores match. All 4 of their goalkeepers on the roster have tested positive. They have appealed to CONMEBOL to be allowed to add 2 academy goalkeepers to the roster. And coming soon, according to Teise, the verdict from CONMEBOL about the goalkeepers for River will be coming down. They might have to play with a field player in goal and maybe less than 11 on the pitch and no subs. Welcome to Copa Libertadores. It's amazing. And good job, River, on your roster.
God.
Hey, Marcelo Gallardo is getting popped for this, and he should be, because he said something back in September or so when the 50-player limit was announced in last year's Libertadores, which this is a new competition, and they still didn't learn. He said that if they had a bunch of positive tests, the games wouldn't get played. So he wasn't worried about putting 50 on there. You got it. Game's scheduled tomorrow, Marcelo. It's not good. Okay, scores. Updates on John's read. Let's go back and see. -1 for the pin and stretching in my eye. -1 for the spirit fingers. -2 for the pull down tabs. -1 no thanks to Chris. +1 for the pause. 4.9987.
Man.
6.7 seems wordy. Pull down tabs. E. Agree. Wow, getting wild today, John. 8.5, 7.4. I have to dig a hole at work today, but your read brought joy to my pain. 8.5.
Thank you, J-Dub.
8.7. This was
Burn.
better than yesterday, but yesterday was bad. -2 for pull down tabs, -2 for spirit fingers, -1 for the pause, so 5.
Well, Ricky, would you rather I type on the keyboard, or would you rather have spirit fingers?
There are other ways to do that. 9.8. 6. Aggressive pinpointing and pop-up window reference. Yikes. Accurate. The yikes might have been about River, Sam. It could have been about John's read. It could be both. Thomas prefers the clacky clack over spirit fingers.
Okay.
Clacky clack. I thought it was clickety clack.
I thought it was clickety clack.
Clacky clack is a whole different thing. I think John turns it into clacky clack at times. That sounds rather clacky clack. Clickety clack is a little nicer. Okay. Sean likes these scores. About time we get the all 10s out of here. Sean's a savage.
See, this is what happens when Alex isn't here. I don't get Alex's 10.
Sean is absolutely a savage. Just like Alejandro Bedoya was a savage yesterday, talking about the championship. John's beloved championship in England.
But these numbers were horrendous.
This game was horrendous. Let's be real.
Yes.
It was 2 teams that just kept playing the ball long and high and far and chasing it and not keeping it. Neither team could complete over 50% of their passes by design. I mean, that's how the way they were playing. It was compared to Cincinnati and Miami, which I don't know if that was a beautiful match to watch either because it was sloppy at times. They had 10 aerial duels in that match as a whole. There were over 80 in yesterday's Swansea match. And Alejandro Bedoya called it out. Paraphrasing, he basically said that for people who think the championship is better than MLS, are you watching this?
Yeah.
I think he called it volleyball.
I was going to say, did he call it ish? But he called it volleyball.
He might have called it ish separately. I don't know. I don't know if he did, but it was bad. Like I understand the it's a playoff. It's the first leg. It doesn't mean it can't be compelling in some sick and twisted way. Just like going to Crystals can be exciting when you haven't had it in a long time. Doesn't mean it's good. It's bad soccer.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. Good soccer, bad soccer is an opinion, and people have different opinions about it. I don't like to see this kind of game. It honestly was hard to watch, and I couldn't watch much of it.
No, I watched most of the first one with Bournemouth and Brentford, and you had fans at the Vitality, and you had the late goal, and it was an exciting environment. The second one, legitimately, after watching the first 20 minutes because of my vested interest, I had it on as noise in the room and was doing other things because it was that painful to watch.
Okay, there's pushback from a couple folks, and I want to get to these really quick. Colonel Bedoya is an idiot. Okay, that was a hard match to watch. Now, Tom Russo goes in, so he's judging an entire league off of one match, bad take. Yes, that's a stretch. There's also plenty of bad soccer in the championship. There's a bad soccer in MLS? Yes, there absolutely is. But no, I thoroughly disagree with the idea that the championship is better than MLS. And sure, come at me, that's fine. I don't think it is. They're different in the way that the games play out. And Colonel, I think my biggest frustration with yesterday is I've seen Swansea in the past, and I'm not somebody who watches Swansea day in and day out. I know enough about the club to be dangerous, but I don't know all the inner workings of it. I remember when Swansea played good soccer not that long ago under Laudrup.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's disappointing that they have chosen to play in the way that they did yesterday. And that's a stylistic thing for me. That's absolutely stylistic, and people like different styles. That's just me being my personal take on the way they played. I'd love to see them go back to playing real good soccer, in my opinion. I don't enjoy the championship as a whole because I think you see far too much of this. Not everybody. Norwich plays good soccer. They're a yo-yo. They come back and forth. There are others who play good soccer in the division, but in general, no, I don't think you can say that it is like so much better than MLS at this point. I think those days are gone. Are there teams that are better? Sure. And there's teams in MLS that are better than a lot of teams in the championship. But it's not demonstrably better than MLS. That game yesterday was not demonstrably better than MLS. It had something on the line. That's a different conversation. But that game, as a watch for a neutral, was not all that compelling outside of kick it this way, run and chase. 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 I don't know. That's just not what I enjoy watching in general. Laudrup was a long time ago, I know, and it changed. I wish that, and this is something, Colonel, that I've said before, so I'm gonna be consistent on it. If you play good soccer and you get promoted, and that's the idea, you can't abandon that. When you abandon that, you lose your identity. And yes, survival becomes important, but you have to find a way to adapt and not lose your identity. I think Swansea's lost their identity, and I think it's hurt the club, to be perfectly honest. I think their best identity was under Laudrup. It's a long time ago, sure.
Yeah.
Thought they made the wrong decision when they fired him because they haven't played good soccer consistently since. And they haven't been in the Premier League consistently since. So I don't know if those are completely mutually exclusive. I like to see teams commit to playing something more than just kicking and running and chasing. And yes, I know the idea of Big Sam, and we joke about Big Sam, and we joke about Steve Bruce, and we joke about that all the time. Big Sam isn't running a big team ever. It's not going to happen. He's not going to run a team that's going to win anything. It's just not. He is what he is. Yes, it is about survival. Is that really what we want outside of the history and promotion relegation and the drama of it? If you're a neutral, do you want to watch that? And this is where I push back on a lot of the ratings conversation where people say, oh, the English games are all better than MLS. They're all viewed more. No, the big games are. People aren't watching West Brom and Sheffield United in mid-season more than they're watching Chelsea and Manchester City. They are not. The ratings are not there. The numbers do not back that up. That is incorrect. The relegation battle, the final day, yeah, people will watch because it comes down to the final day. There's drama. The playoffs, absolutely, there's drama. People will watch. Game changes. This was way too dramatic of a change. But in general, bad soccer does not get eyeballs from people outside of that fan base. It doesn't. Good soccer does. The numbers back that up. So choose good soccer. And yeah, at times, you're going to have to modify it. Atlanta United modified it in the playoffs in 2018, and they won a trophy. You're going late into a season, you got a bunch of injuries, you got to play more defensive. Sure. Seattle, they've done it before. Brian Schmetzer's done it. He's apologized to opposing managers for it. Cool. Did you win? Okay. Was it worth it? Okay. Can you play better soccer when everything is correct? I hope so. Because that's what's ultimately going to work, in my opinion. Ultimately. So that's just, and again, this is all personal feelings on what you like about the game and what you don't, but I'm not going to choose to watch teams that play that way in just a neutral game. I couldn't even watch it yesterday knowing it was on the line. So, Colonel says, nobody likes reverting to survival, but even in survival mode, Swansea Triangles were sick. They're still among the highest passing rates in the championship. Barnsley drove that style at home. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would have liked to have seen Swansea try to play more. That's maybe my biggest disappointment with it, because I do have an expectation of Swansea, and it is based on stuff from long ago. But, yeah, I want to see them play, and I want to see the teams choose to play. Barnsley, I'm a little, honestly, concerned with the idea that they're doing things the right way because they're going Moneyball-ish, and they're picking, undervalued players. Daryl Dike is an example of this. They've gotten a ton out of him. All that's good, but you can still do that and play something that is not this. I think. I do. And going back to Bedoya's tweet, yeah, it's hyperbolic. Welcome to Twitter. It's absolutely, jumping off the deep end on one game and judging everything. Again, that's how Twitter goes. But no, I don't think the championship is better than MLS. Absolutely, I'm biased. Absolutely, I am biased about MLS. I want to see MLS be bigger than it is. I don't think it gets enough respect worldwide. I don't think the championship's better. On the whole, I don't. I really, truly don't. And this was a big game that did not appeal to any neutral fans because of the way it was played. At least neutral fans who like certain things about the game. I'm sure there's some out there. That's probably not a fair statement. I'm sure there's some neutral fans who enjoyed the fight, the work rate, the pace, I guess. Even though I don't even know how much pace there was in it because it was just boom, 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 boom. There might be some people out there who like that style. I think in general, the numbers back up that it's not the best way to play for the neutrals. That's all.
Here's the history of the managers after Laudrup left in 2014.
Hold on.
Gary
Jason
Monk,
Nix wants to know how we can blame Mindy Kaling for this.
That's what I was gonna have that at the end and button hook that into the discussion.
Okay.
Gary Monk, 77 matches. Alan Curtis was a caretaker for 8. Francesco Guidolin for 25. Bob Bradley, who got screwed, was for 11. Alan Curtis, caretaker for 2. Paul Clement came in for 37. Leon Britton, caretaker for 2. Carlos Calvial was there for 24. Graham Potter was there for 51. And now Steve Cooper has been there for 52 matches.
Okay.
It's just, and with Laudrup was there for 84 matches. Monk was there for 77. Since then, Graham Potter and Steve Cooper have been the ones who've been there the most, and it's just over 50 matches. That's a little more than a season each time.
And Graham Potter's not bad. I think Graham Potter generally tries to play. So I'm okay with that. A couple of comments. Colonel says just based on wage bill, championships better than MLS. That's not what I'm basing it on. I'm basing it on quality, which is absolutely subjective. Wage bill, I don't think is a fair way to do it because then you're comparing different leagues and different resource levels, and I don't think that matches quality directly. So I'll disagree with that part. Spud came in and said, are a lot of the English footballers in the MLS not players who didn't make it in the top 2 to 3 tiers of English football? There have been some, and Bradley Wright Phillips is one that gets pointed to a lot, where he didn't make it in the top tiers and came here and was a star. I think that's happened more in older times. Does it still happen from time to time? Yeah. But you're also seeing guys who are in the top tiers of English football coming over here now and playing. Usually a little bit older, but yeah, that's happening. That doesn't define it either for me because, again, I'm talking style more than anything here. Level, we'll never know. That's a guessing game because you'll never have a level playing field to put Atlanta, LAFC, Seattle, and Orlando. You'll never have a level playing field to put them in a competition over a longer period of time, not just a one-off, against 4 championship teams in the top half of the league and put them into a league competition where they play everybody home and away and everything is equal. It won't happen. We'll never know. So, we can debate this all day, every day, and go around on it, and everybody's going to have an opinion, and nobody's going to actually have an answer. Stylistically, I much prefer MLS. But I also much prefer watching, the Argentine League and watching South American competitions and things like that than watching the championship. A lot of times watching, lower-tier Premier League games. But that's my stylistic choices. I'll watch games from other countries in Europe as well. I don't enjoy this style of the English game. I think the English game embracing this style, and not everybody does, and there are progressive managers out there somewhere, they need to push it forward more. Because I don't think this style, as being 2 of the best teams in the championship this year, is a great advertisement for the league, and it's not great for the development of the English player, and it's not great for the game as a whole. I think managers need to, and clubs need to, try to achieve more here. Again, that is stylistic hope from me. But I don't think this is pushing the game forward in any way.
For me, when it comes to my viewing habits, I will watch the extremes. I'll watch the discussions at the top when teams play. I'll watch the big matchups, and I'll watch what's going on at the bottom just because of the promotion and relegation and the subplot there. When it comes to the Premier League, when I'm looking at the teams that are in that middle third, it's a hard watch for me because it's seemingly more about survival and keeping your place, and it doesn't create the most exciting brand of football that you're going to have there on television. And it's the same in the championship for me. There are some games that are in the middle of the table where it turns into 90 minutes worth of kickabout, and it's just kind of like there is noise in the room for me. I'll watch the stuff at the top because we know what's going to happen for the playoffs. I'm interested in the stuff at the bottom because of promotion relegation. But the stuff in the middle is where, for me, it turns into a bit of a long watch sometimes.
I don't like the stuff at the bottom. It's at the bottom for a reason. It's not good.
Yeah, well, I'm saying just because of the subplot that's attached to it for the promotion relegation.
I'll watch the last day. Like I'm not going to watch the relegation threatened West Brom under Sam Allardyce game in and game out.
No,
unless I've grown up as a West Brom fan.
Right.
I'll watch the last day if they have a chance to save themselves or get relegated because there's drama in that. Mm-hmm. I'm not watching game after game of that.
No.
That part, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
No.
That part of the idea that promotion relegation, because of the relegation battles, that's why it's the greatest system. That's why it works. No, I don't think people watch that outside of the last day. The ratings don't back it up, and I'm judging it on the U.S. ratings.
Yeah.
The ratings don't back that up. That people are watching, because West Brom's in a relegation scrap, people are watching those games. No. The final day, when it comes down to one game, okay, we're having a different conversation. But I'm not buying it.
And this year, you don't even have that because it was settled 2 matches ago.
Yeah, you don't have that. You have, I think, more compelling games to watch because it could come down to the final day to get into the Champions League, but it's not as high of a stakes to play for. So, yeah, if you are a fan of one of these teams, I think it's a different conversation entirely. And
Yes.
Generally, you're a fan of one of these teams because of generations and generations of time attached to it and your family or friends or what have you, or you've been attached to it since you were a kid. So you're going to have a different feeling. And that's what being a fan is. That's great. But as a neutral and to grow more fans and gain more fans, I think this is a bad advertisement. Spud chimes in, as a Leicester fan, we struggled for years in the championship until eventually we made it look easy. Got promoted, tried to change our style of play to suit the league, didn't work, went back to our counter-attacking football, and the rest is history. But the championship, League One, League Two, etc., are so competitive and hard to get out of for a lot of teams. 100%. It says, but I understand completely the perspective as a neutral viewer. And yeah, that's a big element here. I mean, if you're a lifelong fan, of course, you're going to be sucked into the drama. And I get that, and that's great. Leicester, even when they were more counterattacking style and going back to that in terms of a survival or being competitive, they were not what we saw yesterday. They were not that at all, in my opinion. So you can be a counterattacking team and still be compelling to watch for a neutral, for sure. Absolutely you can. Yesterday was just kickball. There really wasn't any style to it. There really wasn't much of a tactic in it. And that's where I don't mind being defensive if there is a game plan to try to win games. I don't like defensive when it is literally just to choke the game out and just get numbers behind the ball with no plan to get out. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy this where there's really no system. It's just kick it as far as you can and go chase it and fight for it. And then you win it, the other team wins it, kick it the other way as far as you can and as high as you can and go fight for it. You can be defensive and still be compelling. This was not that. So I totally get what you're saying, though, Spud. A lot of it is personal taste, and a lot of it is what you like, but also a lot of it is, are you attached to a team that is playing in this manner? It will, I think, change opinions on stuff. But no, I've never considered Leicester like that. I never thought of Leicester in that kind of way. Okay, so lots of different things about this. And a lot of it is style and personal taste. So, there's not right answers. I don't think the wage bill necessarily tells you which one's better. I don't think, us arguing over it answers the question. I think MLS is a better watch across the board. I do, than the championship, but that's incredibly subjective, and that's just my opinion, and I'm sure there are people who disagree. So, all bueno. But I did not enjoy that nonsense yesterday.
Like I said, watch the first one because there was stuff going on and teams were chasing after that late goal. You got the late goal at home for Bournemouth and in front of your home fans. That was very, very cool to see. But yeah, admittedly, I had a vested interest in the second game yesterday in the doubleheader, and it was a painful watch.
It was not good. Not good at all. Roy Hodgson is retiring. He is leaving Crystal Palace. I believe he's retiring. I don't know if he officially said he's retiring. Am I getting that wrong, John?
No, let me get the words specifically from Crystal Palace and how they phrased it. Because
I was looking more from him because he's not coming back to Crystal Palace. He was out of contract, that we knew. They're not going to do a new deal with him. I don't know if he has said he will not seek another job. We've talked about Roy Hodgson and Crystal Palace, and I think they got very safe after it didn't work for Frank de Boer, and they panicked very quickly. Hodgson did what they wanted him to do. They've been very remarkably vanilla and mid-table. They haven't really been in a relegation fight, have they, during his time?
early, but then they would get a run late. Early in his run, they were toward the bottom of the table, but then they would get that late run and run away from any kind of a scrap.
Yeah, I don't think late in the season they've ever really been in that in him. They've always been safe. They haven't really threatened for anything else, though. Like, they haven't threatened for European spots either, have they?
Mm-mm. Hodgson, the wording from Crystal Palace is he's leaving when his contract expires. Asked whether he was retiring from the BBC, Hodgson said, "One never knows. It's a dangerous thing to do when you still feel good about yourself to start making bold statements about retirement. I'm certainly not leaving Crystal Palace with the idea of putting myself back on the market for another job. I really am stepping away from football for a while, but who knows what the future will be. It is a never say never moment."
Okay, and that's completely fair. I mean, I think it's easy just to look at what Roy has done at Crystal Palace and say, oh, well, he doesn't really have it. He's no good. He is 73, Jason Nix. That is accurate. But he was also, when you go back in time, and this is one of the hardest things for managers, to continue to adapt to the times. And Roy was one of the English managers who did go and work on the continent. He did go and add different elements to his game. He went to Scandinavia. He managed Switzerland in the 94 World Cup. He was at Inter. He's worked in more Scandinavian clubs like Copenhagen. He was at Finland for a minute. Then he had his run at Fulham. He had his time at Liverpool, West Brom, England for a long period of time, and then Crystal Palace from 17 to 21. I don't think he adapted well as time went on. But Roy, in the 90s and early 2000s, was an English manager who was looking at the game a little bit differently. And I do think that has to be talked about with him. It's very hard to continue to do that into your 60s and 70s and continue to keep up with the changes in the game and not turn into, the quotes we had from Sam Allardyce last night on Soccer Over There, where it was kind of stubbornly like, no, I don't want to change to what the league is doing right now. I don't want to just do what everybody else is doing. Which I get to a degree, but there is a need to keep up with what everybody's doing to stay modern. I think Sir Alex Ferguson was one who did a really good job of that. I think Arsene Wenger did it for a long time. Maybe towards the end it was starting to get away, but there are, I think, a lot of other elements there with Arsenal too. It's tough. It's tough to continue to adapt and reinvent yourself. And I think Roy did what Crystal Palace hired him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Kept them in the league. Didn't really have them at any threat for anything. He didn't take it further than that. But he did the job that he was hired to do. And now the question for Crystal Palace is, you go back to 2017. They had an idea to hire Frank de Boer at that time because they wanted to be more than a mid-table club. They freaked out. And they realized that, wait a minute, that invites risk, and we might not be a mid-table club if it doesn't go well. Let's not risk anything. Let's just be that mid-table club.
Yeah.
Are they satisfied with being that now? Or do they want to hire somebody who might push them further along? That's an interesting job. Those are the kinds of jobs, I think, for managers worldwide who look at that, because the money is there in England. Compared to a lot of leagues worldwide, the money is there because of the TV deal. Mid-table teams have money that some top teams in other European leagues have.
Yep.
So what can you do with it? Crystal Palace does not have Manchester City, Liverpool money, and they're not spending that way. Could they spend at a Leicester level? Maybe. But can they do something more than what they are, or are they just going to basically stay in the league, be 10th, not really push for Europe, not really be in a relegation battle, and just keep collecting checks and be just there? And, I mean, not even make a cup run, really. Like, they're just there.
There.
You just forget about them at times. Do they want to be more than that? And I think their next hire will say a lot about what Crystal Palace's ambition is.
Yeah, in the release, Chairman Steve Parrish said, his record with us simply cannot be overstated. He's the only Palace manager to secure 4 years in the Premier League, and he's helped give us stability in the most turbulent of times. Forever grateful for his immense contribution. Delighted we'll have the opportunity to show our appreciation in Selhurst after Arsenal among 6,500 supporters. So Parrish says, yeah, okay, he kept us up for 4 years. I want to see what the next step is. Is the next step to maintain that 4 years and just be there? It's like, we're hanging out here at the party. You know, we're going over the punch bowl, but we're going to kind of stand over at the wall. And if someone asks us to dance, then we might dance with them. But no, we're just happy to be under the roof and, you know, not on the dance floor. So do they want to dance or do they just want to hang off to the side? That's the question.
Burns says, I think the top non-English managers in the EPL respect Hodgson, Pep, Klopp, etc. That tells me something. It does. I mean, he's to be at the level in the game that he's been at for as long as he has. You don't do that by accident. I think at Palace, again, he did the job that was there. Now, as Spud says, you know, they're going to lose some players in the summer. No way around that. That should bring them some money. What do they do with it? And what do they do with this hire? That's the biggest question. Who is the ownership of Palace? Perfect Tommy asks, because I don't know their situation as well. He says, doesn't the guy that owns Palace also own the 76ers and the New Jersey Devils?
Efforting.
He says, if so, that explains a lot. Sam Williamson wants Frank de Boer to go back to Palace. I don't think he would take that job if they offered it to him. He's got an acting career to protect now.
Yes.
Frank's, it was a like teaser commercial for this show on Dutch Netflix, and I don't think he's actually in the show. It's like a commercial they shoot, and they've done this with other soccer figures. Frank was pretty good in it. Mm-hmm. He was selling it pretty big. It was good times. Spud says Palace are arguably the most inconsistent side in the league. Never know which side's going to show up. Yeah. They're just there. Like, I don't really have a strong feeling either way. They're just there. Like, other clubs, I like or I don't like things about them and the way they play. Palace is just there. They're just remarkably average.
Yes, they are. Josh Harris and David Blitzer, yeah, they own the Sixers and the Devils.
Yeah, that kind of
Wall Street financiers knew they were co-owners dating back to December 2015.
I guess when I look at teams at this level in England, why don't you think outside the box a little bit? Now, I know that survival thing kicks in. I understand that. But Palace at one point, under this ownership, wanted to be more than they were. Why don't you do that again? Why don't you go out and offer a Marcelo Gallardo to come? Why don't you go and hire, an Hernan Crespo, Sebastian Becasese, a young up-and-coming manager, and go and exploit now the work permit rules and go get young, strong, experienced South American players to come in, because you can do that. The new work permit rules actually help you in that regard if they've broken into their national team and they've played in the Libertadores. Go and do something different rather than just look like Fulham and West Brom and the clubs around, just a better version of it. Go and try to strive to be more, and I think you can still stay safe, but you got to have the huevos.
Grapefruits, yes.
You got to have that to be able to risk to be more. And can you step up slowly? I think Leicester has shown that you can do that over time. Can you step up slowly? Can they go from where they are now? Because I don't think they go that way if they just keep doing what they're doing. Can they go that way by changing up the game a little bit, develop and retain players, Tommy? I totally agree with that. And get to that next level. Get to that European qualification spot and build a squad that is strong enough to be able to fight on two fronts at that level. And then attract better players and then push higher. And keep pushing. Because I feel like the argument a lot of times really just comes back to, that's too risky, we're just going to be what we are, and everybody below the Big Six or the Super Seven, including Leicester in it, is just there making up the numbers rather than trying to compete with them. And that's not compelling. It's just not compelling. I've had the conversation with Airborne DJ a bunch about Everton. I feel like they have that ambition. There's still work to do, but I feel like they have that ambition, and I feel like they should keep pushing. I hope that they do. I hope they don't get worried and get safe and get bland. I hope they do. I'd love to see a Crystal Palace with what I feel like they could be. Try to be more. Those are the stories that are interesting to me in the game as a neutral with these clubs. I want to see them try to be something more than they are and try to develop something and change the paradigm a little bit. Because, I mean, I guess it's good enough. I guess it's fine it's better to be Palace than it is to be West Brom or, a smaller club that is a yo-yo. It's better than that, but can you be more? Try to be more. I don't know. That's I get the fear of it. I understand. But man, strive for greatness. Please.
I mean, there are three. I think that in the Premier League, you look at three distinct groups. You've got the Big Seven, Big 6+1, or you have the big clubs, the ones with the identity, the ones that you have a pretty good idea that are going to be a part of that discussion at the top. Then you have those teams in the middle, 7 through 13, 14. And you see a team like a West Ham from that 7 to 13, 14 kind of poke their head in the door, and we're seeing what David Moyes is being able to do. And he's a part of that discussion by being there to develop. And you're seeing West Ham active, chasing after European spots. But most of the time, that 7 through 13, 14, they're just kind of there. And then you have 15 through 20, the relegation scrap and what have you. And, we've looked at the teams in the Premier League that we think could really do something to improve the paradigm and improve their lot. And we keep talking about Newcastle. Sorry, Alex. Newcastle,
they're another
we
one.
We think could be so much better than where they are.
They are the biggest sleeping giant in England.
Mm-hmm.
They are absolutely the one. And Leeds was this, and I think still has the capability to be more. Newcastle is the club that should not be where they are and has everything in place to be taking a Big 6 or a Super 7 and making it into an Elite 8 or whatever. They have that in-house to be able to do it if you just didn't have Steve Bruce as your manager.
And
Sorry,
Mike
I think
Ashley
it's that
your
simple.
owner.
Yeah, and the ownership, of course. But they could at least be in the bottom of the top half, even with Mike Ashley, with a better manager.
Yeah. And, I mean, then you're looking at literally Newcastle, and Newcastle to me would be that one that really could make the jump from either level 3 or level 2 up to being level 1. And it's just about taking that step to be different from who you are to be able to do that.
This is why I'm always like, sorry, Alex, because I want Alex Pacine to thrive. I want Newcastle to be compelling. They're not, and it's sad. Okay, we got to hit this really quick. This came out earlier this morning. We talked about the French Euro roster with Karim Benzema being potentially included in it after his exile and blackballing for being involved in some real shenanigans involving a teammate and a video that he should not have known existed, but one of his friends knew it did, and there was extortion. Benzema was cleared of all the criminal elements of it, but yes, he is being linked with a return to the French squad. Also, according to Get French Football News, per several sources, Blaise Matuidi is also in line for a surprise inclusion in tonight's Euro 2020 squad. Do they not get MLS
Apparently not.
in France? Does Didier Deschamps not realize that Blaise Matuidi is playing right now and is not good?
No, apparently
not good?
No.
There have to be French players of any age, preferably younger than 34 at this point, that can do what Blaise Matuidi can do in this national team. There's a whole French league to look at. There are French players playing in other leagues. I've seen Miami play a few times this season.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been impressed by Blaise Matuidi at all. Santiago Sosa gave him the shoulder, and Blaise Matuidi said, I want to go to the beach instead of playing the rest of this match.
Do we know if Blaise Matuidi is back to breathing properly after that check?
He played the next game. So, yes, he was breathing properly, which makes me feel even worse about it for Blaise Matuidi because he got hit by Santi Sosa, shoulder, and he didn't want to play anymore on a Sunday afternoon.
Nope.
How in the world would you think? Leadership, I know. History, experience, yes, it's all great stuff. Blaise Matuidi can't run anymore in this game. He would get lit up like a Christmas tree in the Euros. Or then he has been playing at 50% of what he could do for Miami, and Miami should be furious.
Uh-huh.
It's one or the other, because he has been awful for Inter Miami since he arrived.
Yeah.
So go back and look at the postseason last year, where Nashville's running past him. Looks like his feet are stuck in quicksand. Look at most of this season. The two things that stand out to me about Matuidi during his time in MLS is, I want to say Dax McCarty and Anibal Godoy running past him, and they're not spring chickens either, by the way. And Santiago Sosa hitting him with a shoulder, and Blaise going Roberto Duran saying no mas.
Mm-hmm.
Or saying it in French.
Yeah.
No.
I'm out.
No. Mm-hmm. Katie, I disagree in this one. MLS is good, but Blaise Matuidi should not be in the top 50, 100, 150 players for the French national team at this point.
Mm-mm.
It is a different kind of league. Yes. It is a different style. Yes. It is hot in Miami. Yes. Those things are accurate, and maybe he's not the best fit for the style. I would absolutely agree with that. I think we thought that pretty early on during his time in Miami. But I don't think he'd be lighting it up for a mid-table French club either. And he wouldn't be playing at Juventus, which is where he came to Miami from. He wouldn't be playing there anymore. He wouldn't be able to play in the way that Andrea Pirlo wanted them to play, and that wasn't even fully fleshed out. That's a horrible, horrible decision. Unless there's just a bunch of injuries I don't know about. Maybe so. I don't know. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd after seeing him play here. So
yeah. You want that? You have fun.
We'll see. Miami might be happy that he's called away for a while.
Yeah, it's like, no, go ahead. Go to international duty. That's great.
Phil Neville's like, Didier Deschamps, hey, Didier, please. Please.
Yeah.
Like, take it, put him at the end of your bench. I don't care. Like, take him. He'll be wonderful in the locker room. Yes, he will. Absolutely.
Great locker room guy, yeah.
We'll be okay. Like, we'll find a way. We'll find a way, Didier. It's okay. You can take him if you need to. We'll be fine. Do you need to take him early? Do you need to take him a couple weeks early to have him, really get ready for it? That's fine too. We'll be okay. We'll handle it. Oh, so bad.
Oh,
so bad. Other stuff in the world of football. Rodrigo Serrano of AS is reporting that MLS clubs, including Miami, no surprise, are keen on signing Willian. 32-year-old. Reportedly, Miami put an offer in front of him last summer. He chose to sign for Arsenal. He will be leaving Arsenal this summer, and Miami is one of the teams linked to having interest in signing him. Not a surprise on two fronts. Miami has shown an interest in signing older players consistently, and Miami is also the club du jour out of MLS who is linked with every possible move. And no, Sean, we have not heard anything about Miami's punishment.
No, I'm still waiting.
Still waiting. Maybe their punishment is Blaise Matuidi getting called up to the French national team. I don't know.
That's no punishment, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Airborne DJ, I see your take, and I'm not trying to explode. I already almost exploded about Blaise Matuidi. Atlanta's played more than one half of good soccer all season. That's absurdity. And I know you're saying it. Other people are saying it. I'm with you. I back you in this stance. Speaking of other older players who are linked to MLS, Ruben Sainz of TUDN in Mexico is reporting that Memo Ochoa has an offer from an unnamed MLS club on the table. Club America was eliminated from the Liguilla in Liga MX, a little surprisingly, at the quarterfinal stage. After a great season for Santiago Solari. They get knocked out in the quarters. Pachuca?
Yeah, crazy match, and the second leg was even crazier. It was a 4-2 game, and absolutely insane for anybody that was watching it. So, yeah, it was absolutely wild. So which LA team is now linked to Memo Ochoa?
LAFC would be actually really smart in signing him. And you could probably, I'm assuming, pull that off on a TAM. You're going to have to, because Brian Rodriguez is now with a permanent record in Spain after speaking when he shouldn't have spoken. Almeria is not going to pick him up after he hasn't played well, and he's talking about, I'm not happy here, and he got into an argument with a teammate over a free kick, and so they're not going to have a designated player spot. Ochoa, at this point, I don't know LAFC's books, so we don't know what kind of cap space they have. That would be the move. That's actually a good move for LAFC. Because they need a veteran in the back, in goal, to take them to the next level, because Cisniega's not it. Vermeer wasn't it. Now he's in Cincinnati. It tells you all you need to know. Tyler Miller's not it. He went to Minnesota, and he couldn't get it done there so far. He might not keep his starting job there. Dane St. Clair has been right there with him. So Ochoa to LAFC is actually a really smart move. Really, really smart move if they can make it work cap space.
Yeah, Ricky Ricardo, Chicharito, and Jonah Dos Santos against Vela and Ochoa.
Yeah. Print the money. It's a smart one. You're going to sell a whole bunch of goalkeeper shirts.
Rose Bowl.
Yeah, do it. All in. All in, as long as Vela can stay healthy. Burns says, please, Miami, sign Willian. We will dominate you for years to come. Tommy, Retirement FC. Mr. Fantastic, how is Miami going to sign him? Do they have unlimited cap? Yes. Allegedly they do, because they haven't been punished yet.
Yeah, and all those DP slots that are available.
Burns said that Pachuca Club America game was incredible. It was unbelievable. I didn't get a chance to see that one. I was surprised when I saw the result.
I mean, when Pachuca jumped out to the 3-1 lead after the first leg, everybody was like, whoa. And then the second leg was crazy.
I haven't checked in on the hype or lack thereof on Santiago Solari, and is his seat hot now after that? Yeah, they had a great season. So I don't know if it should be, but it's Club America, and it feels like the seat's always at least lukewarm. Burn, it's a valid question. Is Ochoa still good? He's been erratic in games I've watched. Yeah, same. He's better than Cisniega.
Yes.
He's an upgrade at what they have, and he is a presence. And even if he is not as good as he once was, erratic is a good way to put it, because he does still have those blinders where he is world class at times. At times. If he is the right kind of leader for that group, because I think LAFC needs it, and that's going to be the decision for their front office and for Bradley, is does he elevate what we have as much in the locker room as on the field? That's going to be what it comes down to, and that's the decision they have to make. And they're going to have those interviews and figure that out. College soccer last night, we talked about it during Soccer Over There. Santa Clara won their first women's championship in 20 years in penalties over Florida State. Marshall, who had never previously advanced as far as the quarterfinals of a men's college tournament, they defeated Indiana in a extra-time golden goal situation, 1-0 in North Carolina. So the title is going to West Virginia and Marshall.
And I've got to see one of two things: if they are going to market the national championship T-shirts, or
probably,
or even market their jerseys, because the jerseys that they were wearing last night were pretty cool too.
Update on Karim Benzema in France. According to Marca, L'Equipe, and Le Parisien, and according to a close friend of Karim Benzema's on Snapchat, he is going back to the French national team. Oh, boy.
Okay.
See how that goes. The update on River Plate, there is still not a verdict yet from CONMEBOL about goalkeepers. 25 positive COVID cases. They are trying to add Leo Diaz, and Agustin Gomez to their roster, who were not on the Libertadores roster. They are unlikely to have a full team, but they will have at least 7 so they can play. They don't have 7, they can't play the game, and it's a walkover, and they lose 3-0, which wouldn't knock them out of qualifying, possibly. They'd have to hope these guys are back for next week.
Yeah.
They host Independiente Santa Fe in the 5th group game of the Libertadores. I think what we counted up yesterday was it could be between 9 and 11 right now, not including a goalkeeper. There is, out of the group currently, there were 10 that were clear. Enzo Perez could be healthy enough to play. He might have to just stand somewhere on the pitch because he's not 100%. And there was a player who his brother tested positive, and there is a concern about close contact, and he might not be able to play. That one wasn't confirmed yet. So it could be as low as 9 from what we knew last night, and as high as 11 if Enzo Perez can play. And that's barring anybody else testing positive. This is it's not funny, but it is funny because River could have had 18 more guys on their roster, and they chose not to. They chose not to. They went with 32 out of 50, and now they are paying the price for it. And you could see a Copa Libertadores game at El Monumental tomorrow night with less than 11 on the pitch to start for River Plate. Silly season updates. Reggie Cannon, according to Roger Gonzalez of CBS Sports, he is a transfer target of Spezia. Strong debut season for Boa Vista in Portugal, made 30 appearances, caught the eye of a lot of potential suitors. Dallas would get a sell-on percentage on any move for Cannon. Now, if it happens to Spezia or not, Gonzalez says it's a 99% chance that he is moved from Boa Vista in the summer. Originally, according to Gonzalez, the plan was to go to Lille. Lille has an ownership, or had an ownership in Boa Vista. Now things are all kinds of a mess with Lille, so that ain't happening. So he's going to go somewhere because Boa Vista is going to need cash, but where, don't know. Spezia is the latest one that has come up for Reggie Cannon. Wouldn't mind seeing that. Wouldn't mind seeing it at all. I want to see Reggie Cannon continue to develop. He could end up being the right back for the U.S. men's national team. Nick lets us know, and I did not know this, Spezia, with new ownership in place, is going to be making moves. A lot of euro. Okay. Very curious to watch Spezia then. A couple things out of Spain, beyond Karim Benzema potentially rejoining the French national team from Real Madrid. Real Madrid have... it depends on who you talk to. They have been having conversations with Max Allegri, according to Fabrizio Romano, according to others. Gazzetta dello Sport says that Allegri has a 2-year contract option for a third, 10 million euro a season on the table from Real Madrid. Now, that is also assuming that Zinedine Zidane walks away. And that is what people are thinking will happen. Real Madrid has also spoken with Raul, who is managing Real Madrid Castilla, the second team. And he's done well, although they didn't get promoted. They got to the promotion playoff. They were eliminated. Raul, according to AS, in his talks with Madrid's hierarchy, he would be open to taking the job. He would also want to completely rebuild the squad. He would want to move on from a lot of the veteran players. He'd want to rejuvenate the team, bring in younger guys from the youth teams, but also young players who are out on loan. He would have to move some of the older players out of the team. Allegri, we don't know if that's what he would want to do. I'm assuming it's not. I'm assuming Allegri would want to win tomorrow. That's going to be an interesting watch. Barcelona is going to be an interesting watch, and there are a lot of reports. Gerard Romero of RAC1 is one of the leading people on this one. Barcelona has not ruled out Hansi Flick because he has not yet closed the agreement with the German national team. I don't know how they're going to pay him or what they're going to pay him or if he would want to take that job, but that is being reported again by RAC1 and Gerard Romero that Flick is not out of the picture for Barcelona just yet. How wild would that be? How wild would that be? Johannes says 0.00% chance it happens. How wild would that be if Germany doesn't get it done and he goes to Barcelona? I mean, Barcelona's still, like, if they come calling, it's still kind of like, very interesting. That's going to be a funny story if that happens. Johannes, I'm going to remember your message right there. We talked about it last night. It's going to be the talking point between now and the start of the Euros, and probably afterwards, because I don't think a deal will get done before that. Harry Kane. Reports he wants to leave. The club issued a statement, which really wasn't a statement about it, which tells you that maybe there's something to it, in my opinion. Our focus is on finishing the season as strongly as possible. That's what everyone should be focused on. Yeah, okay. Under contract through 24. Kane thinks he has a gentleman's agreement that would allow him to leave the club this summer. Okay. Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea are the three clubs that keep getting mentioned. Reportedly, he wants to stay in the Premier League. Barcelona's name has come up as well, but again, I don't know how they pay him.
Right.
I don't know how that works, because there's also been talk that the price tag is $150 million on him. Barca doesn't have that. Other clubs could potentially have make-weight options. I think Standard Sport is saying Gabriel Jesus or Anthony Martial, talking about City or United, could be make-weight options, along with a fat check. So, stay tuned on that. That's the world roundup. I don't know if any of Karim Benzema's friends have indicated anything else via Snapchat. I don't think they have as of yet. Brian Sciaretta reports that Jordan Siebatcheu, who is now a U.S. men's national team forward, he has signed a permanent contract at Young Boys through 2024. He had been on loan from Rennes, was out of favor. He played really well. He continued to play after the title was clinched, so he is going to Young Boys on a permanent deal. It's a good fit. Stay there where it's worked for now. You don't need to force anything else. Have another good year there and get a big move somewhere else.
That is correct. That was the other piece of international news that I had, but you got it, so we're good.
I got one more for you, and this is epic silly season-ness. According to Sky in Germany, Chelsea are interested in Robert Lewandowski.
Of course they are.
And have already contacted his representatives.
Sure.
Okay.
Roman Abramovich will take that oligarch money and throw it at it. Yeah,
He will. He will. Okay. They going to send Timo Werner the other way?
Probably.
Okay. It's not a bad idea. Does Lewandowski want to go to England? Straight swap for Werner proposed? No. Bayern's not drunk, are they?
No, they're not drunk.
No, there's going to have to be money involved.
Yeah, they might be a little tipsy, but they're not drunk.
Straight swap.
No.
That feels very drunken.
Yeah, there's got to be some cash involved there too.
Yeah, I would think. Jason Nix is proposing this.
Yeah, Jason Nix, our resident soccer general manager.
Yes, absolutely. Catching up on a couple of things. Bernd says the only reason that Flick has not signed a deal with the German Federation is because they're going to wait until the Euros are done to announce it. Mr. Fantastic reminds us that Barcelona just received a $100 million loan to pay their players. That's true. I think they're trying to get an even bigger loan to continue things. Yes. Johannes says that on Lewandowski has a better chance of happening than Flick to Barcelona. Werner and Havertz for Lewandowski. That's the proposed swap that Johannes is pointing out. Now that, with Nagelsmann, bring Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Lewandowski goes the other way. All right. I could probably roll with that.
Yeah, Marina Granovskaya, she'll make the deal now.
I think that could work. And then in a year, Bayern goes and gets Erling Haaland.
Yeah,
and you're all good. I mean,
Chelsea gets Haaland.
No, they'll have Lewandowski, so then they won't have to get Haaland, and then Bayern will just go get the. No, John. Where did Lewandowski come from?
I'm just looking at it specifically from the standpoint of Roman Abramovich wanting all of the chess pieces.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, Roman Abramovich doesn't always get what he wants. Where did Lewandowski come from when he went to Bayern? Dortmund.
Yeah, thank you.
It's happened many times. There's a well-worn road there. And now I know it hasn't been as well-worn in recent years, but hey, you can always break that road back out for Erling Haaland and bring him back if it doesn't work with Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. I like that trade. Let's do it. Come on, Johannes, make it happen. I'm putting this on you. It needs to happen.
Come on, man.
Hansi Flick needs to go to Barcelona too, just to see the meltdown. I need this as well. I need chaos in my life. It's always fun. Okay. We do have a USL League One segment as well that's going to wrap the show. But we will take some final questions on anything we've talked about today, and we have to set our tiers as well, if you have tracked those, John, of logos, so we can figure this out.
Okay.
So you need to check on that. We will also get any questions that are on the table. So while you are working on the tiers of logos, because we have to have a top tier at least. I mean, that's top tier Tuesday, so we got to have something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you work on that for a second. I will check Twitter to see if we have missed any questions or thoughts or conversation, and you can check on the logo side of things. A lot of conversation about it. A lot of conversation about Gilport Lions. Okay, Patrick Sullivan.
Oh, yeah, Patrick's two were pretty good.
Like it? All right. So a lot of talk on that. Biscayne Bay from Perfect Tommy. That is a good look.
Yes.
And the manatees, correct?
Yes, manatees, yes.
That's good stuff. And I see Tri-Cities and the Villages chiming in, which is very good. Okay, questions from the Twitch pitch as we wrap up the bulk of the show today. Sean Vergara wants to know who will manage Spurs next season.
Ooh.
I would be asking Harry Kane who he wants to manage Spurs next season and say, Harry, we want you to stay. Who do you want to be your boss? Would you like some input in this? Will that help you stay?
Yes.
And Badger says there have been reports that Harry Kane doesn't want to leave. And I know he said that in the past. I think he also wants to win trophies. And if you're looking at things right now and you're Harry Kane and you don't have a manager and it has fallen off from how close they were a couple of times to being in the race in the league, getting to a Champions League final. They don't look like they're close to either one of those right now. Might be time for him to go. He's going to try to force that. How does Tottenham keep him? Well, you ask his opinion on how this team moves forward, and you get him involved in that because he is your best player. And if you can't come to an agreement, then you got to get the cash, and you got to use it to rebuild. But yeah, you should have that conversation with Harry Kane if you're Tottenham. Who do you want to be your manager? I'd be curious to see what he would say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have no idea who will manage Spurs next season, Sean. I have no idea. I don't know where that's going to go at this point because it feels like they will not get a top-tier manager. And I know Spurs wants to be a top-tier club. Well, you normally need that top-tier manager to get there. And they're not in the mix. Like, Hansi Flick's not linked to Tottenham.
Yet.
They had names that were linked to them that went other places. Nagelsmann and allegedly Jesse Marsch. So, what happens here? I don't know. I really don't know, Sean. I think you're going to have to sell like Toronto is struggling to do with Chris Armas. You're going to have to sell somebody who comes from a club that is perceived to be smaller than yours and sell it. Now, Armas got fired at that club. Can you go convince a Potter or a Hasenhüttl to leave clubs that are smaller than Tottenham and come? They can't go get Scotty Parker now. They got relegated. You can't go get him and sell that one.
You can't sell a relegated manager on staying in the league with a top 7 club.
Mm-mm. Can you go and convince? You're not convincing Brendan Rodgers. Forget it. That pipe dream's over. Hasenhüttl or Potter. Can you go and get that? I don't know. I don't know if they can pull that off.
I mean, Pep has regarded Graham Potter as one of the brightest minds in the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to go to that level, and instead of going to get a big name like you did with Jose Mourinho, you're going to have to go and get somebody who is on the way up. That's where Tottenham is right now. But you need Harry Kane's buy-in if you want to keep him.
Yes.
And if you can't keep him happy with your next managerial appointment, you got to sell him and make that money.
Yep.
And then rebuild for whatever that manager is going to do. So that's the tough decision. And look, it happens to teams all the time. Have they went as far as they can with Harry Kane leading the line for them? It might be the time to rebuild and reload.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough decision to make.
It's a time where you have a resource that you can max out and get a lot of money in return to help a rebuild. And I mean, we've been talking about Kane and Son looking at 200. Now I guess you'd be looking at something in the neighborhood of 225.
Yeah.
But for Harry Kane, the asking price is 150. Some folks won't flinch at that, but this might be the time to get that and reinvest it, because the stadium still doesn't have a sponsor. You still haven't had folks in. You're going to have a percentage of folks in for the last match of the year. You have to reclaim some money on some levels so you can reinvest it on a lot of different things at Spurs. It's not just on players and squad, it's infrastructure. And so if you have that 9 figures staring at you in the face with possible make-weights, this might be the chance that you have to hop on that. It might, that might not be the best tasting medicine, but it might have to be something that you're going to have to eat.
It's not a fun situation to be in, and it's a tough decision to make. And you're going to have to deal with the fan sentiment as well. It's a tough one, but you've got to engage with Harry Kane on, if you're going to keep him, he's got to be 100% locked in on who you're going to hire.
Yep.
He has to be. And if not, then there's no way you can keep him. It's just not going to happen. So I'm fascinated by this. This is going to be one of the big stories, in my opinion, from now through probably the Euros and beyond, because I don't think it gets resolved before the Euros. Question from Jason Nix. Thoughts on Chelsea and Leicester today? Predictions? And who gets pipped by Liverpool because he thinks one will? I think it's going to be Leicester. Can they get back up after winning the FA Cup for today? I don't think they do.
No, I had Chelsea today.
And I think that triggers it, and Chelsea and Liverpool get 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I think they do. And I don't know, honestly. Well, I mean, then you're getting bumped into Europa League, which is a little bit tougher schedule. It'll be really impressive from Brendan Rodgers if he can get them back up for another massive game just a couple days after winning the FA Cup for the first time.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. I think that Chelsea and Liverpool are going to be the other two. I think that Leicester gets bumped out. I just think that today it's going to be a tough one. I mean, and I was giving Nick's the numbers, and juice boxes have Chelsea at a minus 127. Your draws of plus 264, and Leicester is still north of plus 400 to win today.
Ricky Ricardo question: bigger stadiums for MLS rivalry games for soccer-specific teams and smaller stadiums. Thoughts? Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
This is something that clubs should be looking at doing more and more and more anyway.
I mean, could you imagine? Let's just play out the scenario that we had in a little earlier. Memo Ochoa comes to LAFC. Mm-hmm. You have the Galaxy and LAFC either at SoFi or the Rose Bowl.
No, you're missing one. LAFC goes across the street to the Coliseum.
That's true.
Like literally across the street.
So you're looking at 3, but I think that with the newness of the building, I would think that
sure,
SoFi
but they go across the street,
and
they keep it in the neighborhood, and they go to the Coliseum, and that's where they host it.
And you're looking at 90,000 people.
Yeah.
SoFi would, I don't know what SoFi's is. Rose Bowl would give you over 100, but let me see what SoFi's is. But you have the opportunity for 3 venues in that city that could host that match. Absolutely, you do it.
The Galaxy would go to the Rose Bowl because it's history for them. LAFC should go to the Coliseum because it's across the street, and that makes just so much sense. A lot of it's going to come down to the financials, Ricky. If clubs feel like they can make money at it and do it that way, they will. And they should. And it would be very smart for them to do so. So I hope that even beyond just the rivalry games, for a big game or two a year, Philadelphia should be downtown for a game or two a year. That should be something that they look to do more often. DC's a little trickier with FedEx, but sure. They should look at it. It's not as close, but yeah, they should look at doing a big game a year. I think San Jose's done a great job with doing the Cali Classico at a bigger venue. There are teams that have that option. Dallas should do a game at the Cotton Bowl, where they used to play. Have a homecoming. That'd be cool. Do something like that. Houston's got an option to do this. I mean, Austin's got an option to do it if they can work with the University of Texas. I don't know the width of the stadium there, but that would be wild.
Yeah.
Minnesota could do it. Chicago's already in a big venue. Kansas City could do it. They could do a homecoming at Arrowhead. Or the former Arrowhead, I guess. Columbus probably couldn't pull that off because the newly renovated Ohio Stadium, it was already narrow to begin with. I don't think they could make that one work. So Columbus would have a problem. Cincinnati could do it. Nashville, when they move into their new stadium, could always do it and do a homecoming back at Nissan. Miami, of course, could do it. Orlando could do it as a homecoming at the Citrus Bowl. You've got a ton of options.
And looks like Mexico and Nigeria will be at the Mausoleum on July 3rd. The match versus Nigeria is being staged in partnership with LAFC.
It's across the street. It just makes a ton of sense. It doesn't have to lose home field advantage, Jason Nix, if it's done correctly. It is all about the money. It is all about the Benjamins. Byrne talking about Harry Kane. Who would pay 150 million euro this summer? I don't see it. I think City, United, and Chelsea could. Those are the three that I think could, and I think they're probably the three that'll be involved here because I don't think PSG would go for it. They're going to try to solidify what they have. I don't know if Real Madrid could afford it right now. I don't think there's anybody else who could. So I think it's those three. And if one of those three want to do it, they could. I think they could anyway. Tommy says, how much could they get for Son?
Weren't we talking 80 at one point?
It feels about right. He's a tougher one to try to put a number on. But I don't know. I mean, he might want to go. He might not want to go. They might not find the right number to sell him. You know, if you sell both, then yeah, the rebuild is very easy to start from because you have a war chest. And then who do you
go to Lille.
Yeah, I mean, you got to decide if those guys are good enough to make that step up. Don't just go there because you can.
Yeah, I know.
They've got to do it the right way. Yeah, I don't know. Son would be the fascinating next step. If the dominoes fall, does he potentially want to get out as well? Curious. What's the deal? And look this one up for me because I can't remember the details. If Chelsea, Jason Nix is playing the what-if game. If Chelsea wins the Champions League and they get top 4, nobody else becomes eligible. That is correct, Nix. Now, if Chelsea wins the Champions League and Leicester keeps them out and Liverpool keeps them out of the top 4, Chelsea is back in the Champions League. There are 5 from England in that case. It doesn't take somebody's spot as it did back in the day, I believe.
Chelsea wins the championship, finish outside the top 4. Chelsea would qualify for Champions League. England would have 5 in next season's competition. The 4th-place team in the Prem retains their qualification to the Champions League.
I think in the past they didn't, and that was an issue because wasn't it Tottenham that got knocked out in a situation like that?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was by Chelsea, if I remember right. So, yeah, but you don't get a bonus spot if Chelsea is top 4 and wins the Champions League.
Right.
That just goes away, gets washed away in the qualification spots. Okay. Bernd asks if the Union could fill up the link. I don't know about filling it up, but I think they could draw well. I think they're getting close to that point that they could draw a house. Now, then it just comes down to how much does it cost to rent the link and operate and do a game there, and does it make sense to do it? Because that's what'll decide it. NYC and Red Bulls at MetLife. That would be very interesting. Thomas says SoFi's normal configuration isn't really any bigger than the Coliseum.
Yeah, the 70,000 SoFi is the solid number, but it can be expandable to 100,000 for special events.
Okay. Temporary bleachers, Thomas said, if he recalls correctly. It's not as easy as Mercedes-Benz with the retractable sections at the very top. Thomas, I don't think anybody loses a spot in that scenario. I think somebody gets bumped into a qualification round is what happens. So that they're not exactly losing a spot. They might lose a spot guaranteed in the group stage. I don't know if that has happened since they changed it to where you don't knock a team out from that country. You don't go from the top 4 qualifying to the top 3. I'm not sure. Jason, yeah, I hate it for. I don't know if I hate it. I mean, they got their FA Cup. Like, that'd be the interesting thing. If Leicester does miss out on Champions League, are Leicester fans okay with that? With winning FA Cup, because you have that in the bank now. If you didn't win that, if you lost that and missed out, of course, it's a very bad ending for Brendan Rodgers. But if they don't, but they got the FA Cup, is that okay? I think it is.
Well, I think so, considering it was, the first time in over 50 years that they won?
First time they ever won it. First time in 50 years they were there.
Yeah, 50 years that they were there. It's 69, I think, was the last time they were there, and they were 0 for 4 in previous appearances. And so it's the first time you've won FA Cup. And I think you'll be okay with it.
I think so. Not ideal, but yeah, today's going to be a wild game. What were the numbers on today's match again?
Was minus 127 for Chelsea, plus 264 for the draw, and Leicester basically north of just plus 400.
Okay. All right, great stuff today on the show. We are going to finish up with our USL League One weekly check-in. John had a chance to talk to Marios Lomis yesterday, so we are going to have that to conclude the show. Top tiers. Did we have any brands, any logos that stood out in terms of a lot of votes that you would say are top tier on a Tuesday?
Okay, so here are the multiple vote getters that we had.
And we will judge if they retain top tier status.
Oakland Roots.
Yes, top tier.
Swansea.
Yeah, I'm still a little sore about their awful soccer yesterday, but yes, it is a top tier logo.
AFC Wimbledon.
Yes, I defer to you.
Tri-Cities Otters.
Yes. Fear the Fur.
Atlanta United.
Yes.
Spurs.
Yes.
Botafogo.
Yes.
Kaiser Chiefs.
I can't put it top tier. I'm going to veto because it's a ripoff of the Atlanta Chiefs logo in different colors.
And
they said it was okay because, I mean, Kaiser did good things here. But, man, I mean, he took Atlanta off and put Kaiser on it and changed
the color scheme.
Like,
and
it's good. It's good. But I can't make it top tier. I have to draw the line there. I do like the Kaiser Chiefs, but I gotta draw the line there.
And then the other multiple vote getter was Appalachian FC.
Okay, that's fine. It can be top tier. I would like to nominate Inter Miami for top tier status.
They were part of the discussion.
I think they should be. I'm willing to say Minnesota as top tier status in MLS.
Okay.
I'm willing to go there. I know they were on the list at one point.
Yeah, they were on,
I think that's good. There's a couple others in South America that I think could be in the mix, but I think the people have spoken.
Yeah, we have some.
Ricky says Arsenal's canon got more than one vote. He's questioning your nomenclature.
Well, it might have been Arsenal and then Old Arsenal was how it was classified.
That gets a little tough. And Pescara got a lot of love too. They're top tier. Pescara is top tier, Stunner. I'm with you. They're top tier. The throwback Arsenal one.
Yeah.
But it's not their current. But we have allowed for that. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. The current one is not top tier to me.
No. Mm-mm.
The old one, they moved away from it, and it's hard to make it top tier if they abandoned it. I'm sorry, Arsenal. Not top tier on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Pescara top tier on a Tuesday.
couple of others that received mentions. Vegas Lights.
Not top tier.
Deportivo Binacional.
No, because they don't respond to messages.
Kingston Stockade got a mention.
Pretty good. Not top tier.
Sacramento Republic.
Not good, and it doesn't look like they're going to be in MLS either with some quotes from Don Garber. So it's good. I like their branding maybe more than the actual logo. So just outside of top tier.
Wilmington Hammerheads.
Oh, the Hammerheads were good. The dearly departed Wilmington Hammerheads. Not quite top tier.
Lansing Common.
It's a really good one if we're getting into the real grassroots side of it. It's a really good one. It's not known well enough to be truly top tier. I'm going to leave it just outside, but it's really good.
Let's see. Providence City was another one that got a mention.
That's a really good one. That's another one that's maybe like top tier of the grassroots, but maybe not top tier overall.
And then a lot of ones that we've already talked about on the show. Leyton Orient got a mention. Wyvern's got a mention.
Okay.
Fluminense.
Fluminense is top tier. They get promoted to top tier.
And Vasco da Gama.
Okay. I'll go top tier with them too. Brazil's got a lot of good logos, actually, to be perfectly honest.
And everybody else we talked about on the show.
Okay. I'm with that. That's our top tier on a Tuesday. We'll have another topic next week. If you have suggestions for a top tier Tuesday topic, throw them in. If you're a subscriber, you can throw them into the Discord and get a conversation started. Otherwise, you can tweet at us, message us, what have you. You know where to find us. You know where we are. Thursday, we will be at Urban Tree Cidery for a live show, and they have a lot of cool specials. They've got giveaways. If you know the phrase that pays, Habanero Haze. That all rhymed. That was amazing. And I didn't even mean to do it.
Habanero Haze, the phrase that pays.
You go tell Scott Flood that of the Flood Project, and he will hook you up. And there are also specials on the fan cider, the FC, the Atlanta United 2 branded cider. There will be specials on site for that, and there are specials all week long if you go to the website. You go to urbantreecidery.com and you order, and you can actually have it delivered because cider is in a different classification. Like, it can be delivered. I think beer can't yet, although that's starting to change really quickly. But you can have it delivered. You use the code URBANTREE10 when you go to urbantreecidery.com, and you get 10% off of any purchase this week. And you can have it delivered, or you can go pick it up at Urban Tree Cidery. The code Habanero Haze will get you a free 6-pack of the Urban Tree FC, the fan cider, and you can purchase additional 6-packs for $5. They're normally $10. So looking forward to seeing y'all at Urban Tree Cidery on Thursday. Show starts at 6. Get there early. We'll be hanging out for a while, talking soccer with you guys, and looking forward to it. I think Jarrett Smith might actually make an appearance.
Sweet.
That is the rumor. Tomorrow, Atlanta United 2, and tomorrow on the show, we will have interviews. They will be recorded because the guys will be preparing for a game. But we will have interviews for you with Tony Annan and with Chris Allen of Atlanta United 2. Those will be on the show in the morning time as we get ready for the 2's home opener at Kennesaw. We will be calling it tomorrow evening, and looking forward to that after a really good performance from the 2's on the weekend, coming back to get a point at OKC. Showed a lot of grit in coming back twice to get that point. So that's the rest of the week here on SDH. We got tomorrow's show with Tony Annan and Chris Allen featuring. We've got the 2's tomorrow night on ESPN+. Thursday morning show, we'll talk about the 2's, obviously. We'll talk about USL Championship as well. And then Thursday evening, we've got the show at Urban Tree Cidery, and we hope to see a bunch of y'all there. Friday, or also Thursday, too, we have Nico Moreno joining us to get ready for Atlanta and Seattle. So that's going to be big. Friday, we'll get into everything about Atlanta and Seattle. Sunday, that game will be on in the afternoon. Mike and I will be on Sirius. I don't think we'll be on Sirius XMFC for this one, but we'll be on Star 94. We will be on. Actually, I don't know if we're on Star 94 yet. I hold that thought too. We've because we're waiting on Hawk stuff. So we will be on the radio on one of two stations, and we will be on the Atlanta United app for sure, and we will be on the Odyssey app for sure. But we will be on one of two different stations. We might be on Sirius XMFC. Who knows? Things can get crazy. We will be places, and you can hear us in our call.
You'll be places talking stuff.
It's busy. It's busy times right now, but we will be in different places.
Also
what?
Sunday at 3:30. It's a two-screen experience.
Yes.
Memphis 901 FC comes to town to the Fraction. So it's the Twos hosting Memphis 901.
You can go to the Twos game, and you can have your phone on Big Fox and watch, or you can have your phone on one of the apps that I mentioned, or a radio, and listen to Mike and I. You got a lot of different ways to consume that. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy day on Sunday because of all of that. It's going to be a busy week. It's also going to be a busy conclusion to the show because we're going to talk USL League One here in just a second. But thanks, everybody, for chiming in on Top Tier Tuesday. Thanks for all the questions. Really great conversation throughout the show. A lot of fun today. Thanks to you all for that. But, John, we got to get into USL League One. I don't have the clip that you cut from me yelling, so I'm going to have to try to recreate it as best as I can. I need that clip from you, actually, now that I think about it, because that might be the best way to do this. Right. But we are going to come back in with a little bit of talk about USL League One first, talk about the weekend that was, and then we have an interview from Marios Lomas of Greenville Triumph to conclude the show. So, again, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And hopefully y'all stick around for USL League One conversation starting right now.
Time for SDH's look at USL League One. Very, very busy week. A lot of travel, a lot of comebacks and results. We'll get into that and get into the week that was. We'll get into the weekend that will be as well. We've got Team of the Week to talk about and all the action going on with USL League One. But our interview spotlight this week kind of focuses on the game of the week from last weekend. It's the Greenville Triumph in Union Omaha, and it was pegged as the rematch of the championship game that didn't happen. And it was a chance for Union Omaha to go to Legacy early and take on Greenville Triumph in a little bit of unfinished business. And at the end of it all, it was a 1-1 draw. Greenville got the first goal on the board. Union Omaha ends up with the equalizer. Both teams share the points. They're 3-0-1 at the end of the weekend. And so our player spotlight this week comes from Greenville Triumph, the guy with the hot hand, or really the hot boot these days. Marios Lomas, we caught up with him yesterday to get his vibe on the match and how things are for him in his first season in Greenville. Here's the interview.
And our coverage of USL League One continues with a visit to Greenville, hanging out with the Triumph and hanging out with a guy who's had a bit of a hot hand recently, putting the ball in the back of the net, Marios Lomas. Marios, thanks for hanging out with us here for a 1v1 and coverage of USL League One.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's excited to be on the show.
All right, so let's get back into what happened last weekend. It was a game on national television, Omaha coming to town. A lot of folks were sitting there saying that, this is unfinished business. It's the rematch of the championship game that never happened because of COVID-19 concerns last year. What was it like practice leading up to the match? What was match week like for you guys there in Greenville?
To be honest, it wasn't that much of a focus in sense of we're doing something different. It was just one game, another week, fourth playing round. Obviously against a good opponent, but of course it played in the back of our minds, but we just wanted to approach it as a regular game, 3 points to get in a home crowd, of course nationally broadcasted, but we just wanted to view it as another game of the week. To be honest, yeah.
All right, so then let's take it 45 at a time. and look at the first 45 minutes. What were your observations of that first 45 there at home, and then heading into half? What did you think of the first 45 that you guys put out there?
Well, I think first 45 from our perspective, it was, I think in the beginning was a little bit sloppy, to be honest. But then we got a little better grip of the ball. We moved it around better. Our shape was good. We got the goal in the 35th minute. I think that helped us a little bit to settle down. But then the second half, I would say we gave it away. We were too slow moving the ball from out the back. There was not a lot of movement from everybody. I think we got a little, too much. We relied too much on the 1-0 ahead, and that caught us off guard, I think. And then we were sitting back too much, and we conceded the 1-1. After the 1-1, we tried to play a little more. We got some more energy. We got some good chances. But I think we were a bit disappointed that we got to draw. I think we wanted the 3 points badly. And
So how good a team is Omaha? I know a lot of folks here in the eastern part of the U.S. aren't necessarily getting a chance to see Union Omaha unless we're digging for it on ESPN Plus and watching them and having dedicated time to watch. How good a team is Union Omaha?
There's talent in it for sure. I think the substitution they made, the number 10, Firmino, they made a big impact. In the second half, they were playing a little bit better, but again, it was also on us dropping in too much. I think they have a good squad with a good coach. I think first half they weren't content how they played, and they needed to switch it out to play a little better, get the ball speed going, and that's what they did. Again, we invited them, which was on us, which we shouldn't do. But overall, they're a decent team, for sure.
When it comes to your hot hand recently, I know that there's a lot that goes into you having that last touch to put it in for goal. When was the last time that you were on a bit of a streak like this where you were getting a lot of goals on the board? Can you remember?
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that. I started up my professional career at North Carolina FC, and my first year was my rookie year, so to say. It was 2018, and I wasn't necessarily a starter. So I was coming off the bench, but I started some games as well, and I scored a decent amount of goals, also in the US Open Cup. And then the second year with Dave Serican, it was a really good year. I started off really good. I scored, I think, 6 goals in the first 7 games. So and I had like 4 games in a row that I scored. So that was the hot streak. I wanted to continue, but then unfortunately I was hit with the injury. I broke my ankle in training. So I was out of most of the 2019 season in North Carolina for the months or so. So I missed most of the games, and then I came back for the playoff game. So I know how it feels if you're in the flow as a striker, scoring game in, game out. And that's something you need to continue doing. You cannot get nonchalant with it. Okay, I scored. You need to be hungry every time for more, because the goal I scored wasn't enough for 3 points. So you need to have that mindset of every time stepping it up. Okay, 1 is not enough. Can you get the second? And so on and so on. I hope I'm now in that streak. I'm now in that flow with Greenville, and we're winning. We're in the top of the table, and I would like to continue that.
What's it like for you integrating into this Greenville side? Because last year it was 2 different places. Now you're in a Greenville side that has won a championship. How much of a challenge has it been for you to integrate into what John Harkes is looking for offensively and defensively?
Yeah, first I would say the impression I got from the team was really good. It's no coincidence that they were champions last year, because the team chemistry is really good, and that's from top down, from the organization to the coaching staff, to the team players. And I felt welcome from the start. And I talked with John Harkes when he got me in. He scouts specifically in terms of what kind of player he wants. He wants intelligent players, technical on the ball, and I fitted that profile. So it was pretty easy integrating in that part of how he wants to play football, how his approach is. It's intelligent play, it's quick movement of the ball. So he gave me confidence in that sense, and that made it easier to integrate in the team.
What's it like to learn from a guy like Harksey? Because I know that a lot of folks here in the U.S. know him as a player and getting to know him as a coach, now as a successful coach. What's it like to learn from a guy like Harksey?
No, it's very valuable as a young player. I mean, I'm not that young, but still, I'm trying to improve every time. I mean, that's the most important thing, obviously. And if you have a name like John Hart, who played overseas in Premier League, I mean, that when I made the decision to come to Greenville, that helped a lot. In the conversation I have, he's a very genuine guy. He's very passionate about football, about soccer, and that helped making my decision to come over. And then he's very adamant of improving of the simple things in football. You know, football is simple, as the great Johan Cruyff said, but it's hard to play simple football. But he's very adamant on that, and I think with his experience and breaking down every sequence, if it's offensively or defensively, or it's a simple pass, or he's very passionate about that and very adamant, so that you keep the focus every time on every play. And that's just a great learning experience. And we were just in the beginning of it. You know, we have a whole season in front of us, so I think that will get better every time.
What's it like for you now in Greenville? I know that you've been in some markets, you know, Cary, North Carolina with North Carolina FC, very rabid, very passionate fan base. El Paso, the same way, very passionate when it comes to what it's like with the locomotive. What's it like for you now in Greenville, knowing, getting to be there in front of fans first and foremost, where you're playing in front of what is right now a full house there at Legacy Early? What's it like for you integrating into the whole Greenville thing?
Yeah. No, it's a positive experience for sure. Here in the South, they just love football, and I like that. You know, it's the downtown store fan store they have is something like you don't see that in every market in the US. You know, that's big, and I think it flows down to people. You meet in the grocery stores, like, oh, you play for Triumph. Like they're very excited when they hear about that. So I think it's an exciting period where you experience the growth of a sport like soccer in the US. It's a very positive experience. I like that. Yeah.
I was going to say, you're going into the grocery store, and when folks sit there and they either recognize you or you're wearing the gear, they sit there, oh, you play for the Triumph. What do you remember the first time that happened to you there in town?
There was. I introduced myself. I didn't wear the badge, but I introduced myself. And I mean, it was in a public store or something, and they get very excited about it. And also in restaurants where I was. So it's an exciting thing.
How does a guy get from the Netherlands to Creighton? How does that happen?
That's an interesting story.
Trading one in for another.
My first experience in the U.S., Omaha, Nebraska. Like people have in the Netherlands, like, where is that? Like Nebraska, is it cold there? That's the first impression they have. It was interesting. I studied myself, a little background story. I studied in the Netherlands. I did political science, and I was also playing for a local club, which was fourth division at the time. But in the Netherlands, it's a different football structure. In the Netherlands, you have the first two leagues are professional, and then from the third and fourth, it's a semi to amateur league. But the leagues are really good because you have retired professionals stepping down and working a job next to it or study. And in my case, I was studying. But you train only 3 times a week. And I always had the ambition to play, but I also wanted to finish my degree as well. So when I finished my degree, I did my political science undergrad at the University of Amsterdam. I wanted to do like a master's abroad. And then an agency approached me about having the opportunity to play in the US, where you can do and your study and play soccer at the same time. So for me, this was the ideal combination, because in the US, the environment the collegiate environment is so good, where you can have a high level college experience, and at the same time also a high level sport experience. So that's very unique in that respect here in the USA.
And I was going to say, how much of a culture shock was it for you?
Aftershock in terms of the college experience?
Yeah, from the Netherlands to Nebraska in general.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was a bit of a culture shock. No, that was not a culture shock. I mean, it was different. It's 4 years ago, so I need to remember a little bit how it was. But what I can say is the first impressions were very positive about the Midwestern people, very friendly, very helpful in the transition. Also, my teammates, the coaching staff, that was just very positive. And I liked the experience a lot of, having your study in one place and your football at the same time, and just focusing on your craft, but also intellectually you can develop yourself.
As a fellow poli-sci guy, that was when I got my...
Really? Okay.
One of the theories that has always stuck with me is Velbon's theory of conspicuous consumption.
Gotta refresh my mind. Which one is it?
Velbon's theory of conspicuous consumption. I learned this in Politics of the Masses. Basically, you make sure that everything you have, you better spend it because you don't know if it's going to be there if you try to save it. And so I think that to me kind of applies most in soccer these days, where athletes, they're trying to sit there and make sure that they're getting what they can while they can as an athlete, because you never know when that next day is where you're going to have to focus on other things.
Yeah.
When it comes to, I guess, if you were to equate political science, and football, how would you do it?
Well, in terms of giving everything when you have it now, the resources, that goes along with my decision of playing professional football, because I could have looked for a job or do something else, but the experience I had here in the US of the resources that were available to me, I just I made an aware decision. I want to take it. I'm young now. I can do it. Why not? I can now make use of the time I have of playing, doing something you love, you're passionate about, and you can get paid for it. So in that sense, I took my chances of continuing my professional career here, and I love doing it. I still love doing it. Yes, for sure.
All right. So my last question for you, and thanks for hanging out with us here and pulling back the curtain a little bit. When it comes to all of the new guys, you being one of them, Don Smart being a part of the equation this year as one of the new guys. I know that the folks in Greenville are chasing after another championship in USL League One. How's it like for you when it comes to these relationships on the pitch? How is that coming together in this first handful of matches? Because I know sometimes it takes a little while to get into a full rhythm where it's just acting and doing instead of thinking. And where are you in that, just having it be second nature with all the new guys that you're having to integrate with on a new roster?
Yeah, it comes a long way if you play with new players in small-sided games. It may sound funny, but in small-sided games, you see 4v4, 5v4, you see how a player is, what his strengths are, where does he want the ball to play in behind or in his feet. And in training is where you get like this, you can build this chemistry, and you have a better chemistry with one player or the other. It's just instinctive. It goes like that. But I think we are, like, the whole team is very built in this team process, in this chemistry, where we read each other's movements a lot. And again, the coaching staff is really specific in that if the ball isn't played to the strikers, for example, he immediately stops the game. Look at it. Look how he made his run in the space. So I think from coaching staff to team players, we have a good understanding of finding each other's strengths and play up from that. Yeah.
Well, Marius, we got to talk a little poli-sci. We got to talk a lot about soccer. We got to talk a lot about Greenville. And thanks for hanging out with us here as we continue our coverage of USL League One this year. Thanks for hanging out with us for an SDH 1v1 as we look at USL League One. We'll be keeping
for sure. Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on the show. And I'll see you next time. And maybe we have some other topics we can discuss. Always interesting. All right.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks to Marius Lomas for hanging out with us here and catching us up on everything going on with the Greenville Triumph at the top of the ladder with how things have been with them. Great match at Legacy early with a lot of fans there in the stands, and once again, a great aspect of it. And anytime that you can drop any poli-sci theory with a fellow poli-sci major, Jason, that's an added bonus. I didn't expect to go down that road either myself, but it was just something that popped into my head talking to a fellow poli-sci major.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. Lomas had the opening goal for Greenville. Omaha equalized in the 59th minute. Nicholas Firmino finished 1-1. Very even game. Greenville had a little bit more of the ball, 12-11 on the shots. Two top teams, they're at the top of the table. No real surprise. They're both on 10 points this season through 4 games. Fort Lauderdale has played 6 times. They're on 9 points. Richmond and North Texas have also played 4 games. They are each on 6 points. Chattanooga Red Wolves, a couple games in the books. They are on 4, along with Forward Madison, along with New England Revolution, 2, who have played 4 times. Tormenta, really slow start to the season. They are 1-4 on the year. 3 points through 5 games. Tucson looking for their first win this season. They do have a point via the draw. Toronto FC2 will get into action this weekend. We'll talk about the schedule here in a second. North Carolina FC looking for their first point of the season. They are 0-2. And we get a couple of rivalries this weekend. Richmond Kickers and North Carolina FC goes back to the old Carolina Railhawks days, and they will renew their acquaintances at City Stadium on Saturday at 6:30. South Georgia Tormenta looking to shake off a slow start to the season. It won't be easy as they get the defending champs Greenville coming to Irk Russell Park at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Those are the 2 games that highlight the schedule for me.
Yeah, and you're looking at Chattanooga, at CHI Memorial, Fort Lauderdale, and that front-loaded aspect of the Fort Lauderdale schedule. But this past weekend, putting 5 at home on FC Tucson. Obviously, when you're traveling from Tucson to Miami, going from one end of the country to the other, that's just part of the deal sometimes. And Fort Lauderdale had a massive offensive work at Drive Pink, and then Toronto FC2. They're playing their first section of matches out in Arizona at Casa Grande, and they get to host North Texas SC, and it'll be interesting to see how the Young Reds look coming out of the blocks too. So that'll be your late game on Saturday, but 4 interesting matchups in and around the table for different reasons. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out there on Saturday.
Yeah, last weekend, Madison had a late winner to beat North Carolina 1-0. We've talked about Greenville and Omaha. Marco Micheletto scored a goal of the week candidate for Tormenta, but they gave up 2 in 12 minutes to lose 2-1 to North Texas. Fort Lauderdale blitzed Tucson, as you said, and Revs too. They had a 2-0 lead on Chattanooga. The Red Wolves came back and got a 2-2 draw. Angel España came off the bench to score both of those. And we take a look at the team of the week. Fort Lauderdale winning so big, not a shock that George Acosta, who was injured last season for Inter Miami, he's getting healthy. He was somebody that they had high hopes for, and he is showing it so far with Fort Lauderdale.
Looking at the rest of the team of the week, Nuhu for Union Omaha, no real surprise that he's there for your keeper, your back line. It's 3 defenders: Toyama from Forward Madison, Villader from Union Omaha, Jonathan Ricketts from the Red Wolves, Acosta, Firmino with the goal that he scored for Union Omaha, España, and Scarce as well for your midfield, and 3 up top: Venton Evans from Fort Lauderdale, Derek Gebhardt from Madison, and Viniegra from North Texas. That is your team of the week for last week.
Gebhardt had that game-winning goal in the 90th for Forward Madison, a player that we've seen around the league and at this level for a while now. Good to see Gebhardt really giving the fans with the return back to Bree Stevens for Forward Madison, something to take home with them. That's a big goal for them after a point on the road in that game out in Tucson. Forward Madison so far has not lost in their first 2. Looks like it'll be a better year for the Flamingos.
Yep, and just so you know, the three that are up for goal of the week, we've talked about it. You can go to USL League One, USLLeagueONE.com, and vote for goal of the week. It is the Marco Micheletto goal for Tormenta against North Texas. It is the Firmino equalizer in Omaha and Greenville, and it is the Gebhardt winner at lateness for Forward Madison. It's USLLeagueONE.com to vote for goal of the week.
Okay, and before we wrap up the League One weekly check-in on SDH, North Carolina FC has some additional investment, eh?
Yeah, new owners, and one of them for me was interesting as a part of this. You have local business execs Ashley and Michael Busey, sports marketing exec Sarah Toussaint, orthopedic surgeon R. James Toussaint, and leading Raleigh-based diversified communications company. This is how it was phrased in the release, Capital Broadcasting Company. And so Capital Broadcasting Company has been the folks who have been broadcasting the games on their Point 2 channels. And so to have a local broadcast company as an investor in the local soccer club, that's going to be interesting going forward, because we know what the relationship is with USL League One, ESPN Plus, and we've seen it with teams in Greenville having things airing locally. North Carolina FC has been aired locally in the past on the Capital stations, and Statesboro was going to have that as well on WJCL this year, the local ABC affiliate. So now you have this next step in the process where Capital Broadcasting is a newly added owner to North Carolina FC. And it'll be interesting to see how that relationship plays out when it comes to media and broadcast there in Raleigh.
There was also an update yesterday out of Spokane that USL League One hopes to be playing at their new downtown stadium by 2023. Justin Papadakis, the COO of USL, said that the first step was to discuss design at the new stadium, make sure it's going to be good for a soccer team to play there. It's expected to be completed in 2022. Next step is to find owners to take the team on. Papadakis said, "We will be in market this upcoming week to finalize the ownership group that will take the team to where we think Spokane can be one of the top teams in the United States." Spokane will be in League One, and they could also, play friendlies with teams like the Portland Timbers, like the Seattle Sounders. Spokane's a really interesting market, and this is, as we've talked about League One and the growth, these are the kinds of markets that are essential for the league to continue to grow and get more regionalized as it goes.
And one of the helpful things here when it comes to the cost and defraying the cost of the stadium is that it would be a place for the local soccer teams for the high schools and for Spokane schools. They would be a part of the usage there as well. And so you get that opportunity to embrace the sport on a bunch of different levels. You would have the USL League One franchise. You'd have Spokane schools playing there as well. And so it would be that multi-use facility. And I think that if I remember correctly, it would end up saving somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million when it comes to getting things built and paid for down the long run. So it was definitely something that the city of Spokane was looking into, to be that focal point for the sport there in the city that could help out on a bunch of different levels.
All right, that'll do it for USL League One. 4 games on the weekend. We'll be back next week to break down everything across the league on and off the field. Thanks for listening. There could be only one! And with that, we're out. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the conversation. We'll be back tomorrow with a lot of Atlanta United 2 talk as we get ready for the home opener. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.